You got, you got some money for me, boy? This is Arthur Morgan. Welcome to Pixel Chat, the Gradient Pixel podcast. I don't think that sounded like him at all.
Hello, everybody. It's the 2019 Gradient Pixels E3 podcast. This is Shane.
And Nick.
And we are quite a bit late on this podcast, but we had some stuff to do. Not really, but whatever. We're doing it now.
Yep, our E3 report card.
Yes. So basically what the basic plan is going to be for this podcast is we're going to talk about what we've been playing recently, but the main focus is also going to be, of course, E3. We're going to rank our top 5 most hype announcements. Nick's will be in more of a actual ranked order. Mine are just kind of, whatever. Just 5 announcements that I thought were the hypest.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we'll talk about, the show in general, what we thought of E3 this year. If there was any other lingering honorable mentions for games, we're going to talk about those. And we'll probably be here for a little while.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So I guess we'll just start with what we've been playing recently. I think Nick's been playing more than I have recently, so I'll just start because I just have one game. So the only
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds good. Stop cutting me off.
Sorry.
So the only game I've really been playing recently is Spider-Man for the PS4, developed by Insomniac. This is a game that I've been wanting to play for a really long time. I just didn't want to get it on release, and I was waiting until it was about $20 or so. And just the other day, I was using, the Honey app on Google, which this is not an advert for Honey. We are not sponsored by them, unfortunately.
Unlike half the entertainment world.
But if they want to go ahead and give us, little old us, a call,
yeah,
we'll go ahead and push them in our little podcasts. But I was using Honey, which is a service that basically searches the internet for coupons. So whenever you're checking out, you can click on Honey, and it will hopefully give you a coupon code if it finds one. And it can also kind of price match. So if you're about to buy a game or something for $30, it might find it somewhere else for $20. And you can also, if there's a specific item you want. So for instance, I wanted Spider-Man, so I set the price to be 50% off, or I want it to be $20. Then whenever it is, it'll send you an email saying, hey, this game that you wanted is now the price you want. Go ahead and buy it. And that's what I did. So I got it for $20. And I think...
Yeah, real quick, again, not an ad, but Honey is really awesome.
Yeah,
it saves you a bunch of money.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to push it because it's great. And I have 5 games right now that I have in the Honey program, waiting for a price drop.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just really nice, because sometimes the price drops only last for a day or a few hours, and you'll miss them unless you scour Twitter every day or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I finally got Spider-Man, and it's funny because before playing this one, I played a bunch of other Spider-Man games, I think 6 or 7 in a row. I played just all sorts of different ones. I was just in a Spider-Man comic book mood, so I played a bunch of them. I think you can go back to some of our previous podcasts and listen to me talk about those Spider-Man games, but it all kind of led up to me playing this one finally. So I think I've been playing it for a few days. I think I'm about 3/4 of the way through the story mode, maybe a little bit further. So I guess the first question everybody wants to know, and the first question that everybody wanted to know before this game came out, was, will this be the greatest Spider-Man game ever made? And even though I haven't finished it yet, I would have to say conclusively it is a yes. It's very difficult to argue that it is not the best Spider-Man game ever made, because a lot of it is a culmination of the things that other Spider-Man games did really, really well. There's certain things that I think other Spider-Man games that this game takes from did better, but this game still does it really well, and I'll get into that in a second. So, for instance, if we're talking about the gameplay starting off with, the general open world structure and gameplay is very reminiscent of Spider-Man 2 on GameCube, PlayStation 2, and original Xbox, which is a very legendary game, probably one of the best licensed movie games ever made. and that totally revolutionized open world Spider-Man games forever. And you can still see its influence in this game, not just with the web slinging, but also how the random crimes around the city work. It's all very, very, very similar to that game. Even the combat system. There's certain things in the combat that remind me of Spider-Man 2. So for those that don't know, the web slinging in that game was really influential because, one, it was all physics-based. There really was no canned animations of him web slinging or anything. It was all tied to an animation ragdoll system. All the webs connected to buildings or objects. It was the first Spider-Man game that didn't just have him shoot webs out of the sky. There always had to be something around you to connect to. You could control his momentum and the speed. Just everything was under your control completely, and it felt amazing, and blew people's minds at the time. And there was also little fun things you could do, like if you'd come to someone on the street and they'd say, "Oh, Spider-Man, someone just jacked this car. Get on, can you go stop it or whatever?" So you'd get on top of the car and then you'd, kind of beat the car in. And then after a while, the guys would come out and you'd have to beat them up, and then the mission was over. There was always a random kid who lost his balloon. You had to go, get his balloon back, which was really annoying. Sometimes people would rob a jewelry store, and you had to go beat them up, and just stuff like that. And Spider-Man PS4 continues to do stuff like that. The web slinging is similar to Spider-Man 2, where all the webs attached to buildings. It even has a little charge jump that you can propel you super far, or super you can go forward really, really fast if you want to use it that way, just like Spider-Man 2. You can kind of choose when to jump, or if you just want to hang onto the web, you can. For the most part, there's a little bit of gray space where the game kind of gets really, really automatic with the web slinging. But for the most part, it mimics Spider-Man 2 pretty closely. I would just say, with the web slinging, it's not quite as in your control, and it's not quite as totally physics-based. And you can kind of see that if you're on the ground and you jump up and see Spider-Man spin a web, he kind of has this weird canned animation that kind of gives him momentum, and it looks kind of unnatural if you really pay attention to it. Whereas in Spider-Man 2, he would just kind of flap around all over the place, and you really had to build up the momentum. Not that that was hard or unfun or anything, but it was just done better in that game. But yeah, anyway, going back to the random crimes, Spider-Man PS4 has that. There's people robbing a car or whatever, they jacked a car. You web sling around the buildings, get on top of the car, beat the people out of it, and then people get out. People rob, jewelry stores, whatever. It's very, very similar. So there's the influence there. The combat system in general, I would say, kind of reminds me of Shattered Dimensions, where, you can press triangle, and you'll do a web zip towards the enemy. It had very basic combos, so it was mainly just you can press square for basic punching combos. If you press B, or in this case it's R1, you'll shoot little webs at them, the enemies. And in Spider-Man PS4, you can change the web type you have, so some webs will shoot a web bomb out and it'll explode, and if there's enemies near objects, it'll stick them to it. There's impact webs that are really strong webs that'll propel them really far and can stick them to stuff again. There's electric webs that'll keep them in place. All sorts of little gadgets you can unlock. So I would say the combat system reminds me of Shattered Dimensions. I would say that little things like the web zip, which has been around since Spider-Man on PS1, which basically allowed you to hold a button and a little cursor would come out and you could specifically aim where to shoot your web out, and then Spider-Man would zip right to it. That's in the game. So if you played a lot of Spider-Man games before, you're going to recognize a lot of this stuff. Actually, one more thing, if you played Shattered Dimensions and you played the noir sections, those kind of played like the Batman Arkham Predator missions, except with Spider-Man stuff. So if you're up on a beam, you can press a button and he'll kind of shoot an enemy and web them up. Or if you can sneak up to him, the back of them, he'll jump over them and kick him a bunch and then web them to the ground, just like Shattered Dimensions. So you'll notice a lot of little nods and gameplay tweaks that have been in Spider-Man games for years and years and years. And one advantage this game has over the other games is that it's very, very pretty and polished to look at. Like, as much as I love Spider-Man 2, and I do think the web slinging is technically better in that game because it's a bit more complex, it gives you a bit more freedom. Everything else around that game, including the graphics, it's kind of ugly and kind of meh. Whereas Spider-Man PS4 has really, really pretty graphics, great facial animation. It just looks, it's fun just watching Spider-Man swing around the city. New York actually looks really nice and vibrant and colorful.
That was
for
something I
once.
was gonna ask, was the open world, because
Mhm.
definitely I've kind of stayed away from a lot of gameplay because I knew I was gonna play it soon. I own it now, but I still haven't played it. But yeah, I wanted to know what your thoughts were on the actual world map. Like, is it like fun for the most part, or is it like because like sometimes some open worlds, they can be like a little too big for what they want to do, and it can get a little annoying trying to traverse. Like, is it always fun moving around?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty much always fun. I mean, it's a pretty realistic to scale New York. I haven't really like stopped and just people watched or anything, but because it's more fun to just web sling and not care about that in this game. But
Yeah.
I think it works really well, and it like far surpasses any other Spider-Man game in terms of feeling like a living, breathing city. The performance of the game is really good too. It's nothing like Web of Shadows, where there was frame drops and screen tearing all over the place, just ruining the experience. None of that. And I would say, along with most of the open world stuff, there is like little collectibles, so you can find like backpacks that Peter stored there when he was like in high school, and you can find them, and it always has a little item inside that will give you a bit of a background on Peter's history. Like, it might be like a movie ticket, something he went and saw, or like um, a gadget or piece of material he grabbed off like the Vulture or Electro, and he'll tell you a short story about how he used that in the future or whatever. So those are really fun collectibles. I like collecting that stuff
Yeah, those sound really cool.
for the stories. Yeah, and that was a really creative way to do it. Then there's other stuff like landmarks, so pretty much anything you can think of in New York that's important, you can find it and take pictures of it. That'll give you landmark tokens, just like the backpacks will give you backpack. Actually, I don't think backpacks have tokens, but a lot of things in the game do have tokens. So you can stop crimes. That'll give you some tokens. There's research stations all over New York that are Osborn research stations. And Harry Osborn, he's like in Europe in this game. He'll like give you a call and say, "Oh, this research station was supposed to be for monitoring like the air pollution." And Peter will be like, "Oh, I need to, conduct this or concoct this compound rather, and fly through the clouds of whatever air and depollute the air." And each of those have like a little different objective, so it's not just like doing the same thing over and over again, which is kind of fun. There's some pigeons you can find around the city, which are luckily not as annoying as GTA 4's stupid pigeons. So you can chase them around. There's kind of bomb defusal things where there's like 3 bombs you have to get to in a set amount of time and destroy those bombs. There's Black Cat missions, which are sort of similar to the Riddler missions, except they suck in this game because it's literally just like you go to the icon on the map and then you look through a camera and then find a little kitty cat doll and then find 12 of those, and whatever, you can confront Black Cat. It's not nearly as in-depth as the Riddler missions, unfortunately. But yeah, there's a bunch of little collectible things you can do. As the game goes on, you unlock more. And I would say they're all pretty fun. Like, it's not just like Ubisoft stuff where you're just like collecting flags that's just like it shows the
It's
numbers
just an
going up
icon
and
on
on
the map.
Yeah, it's either the backpacks, which will give you more details about Spider-Man and allow you to unlock an alternate costume if you get all of them, or they're just fun. They use the gameplay. So like the research stations have you web slinging around, the bombs have you testing your mobility and stuff like that. So you are still playing the game, and you get those tokens for it, which you can use to either upgrade your web shooters or get new costumes. This game has a lot of costumes, which is really cool. That's also something I appreciated about Shattered Dimensions. It's just fun having a bunch of alternate costumes and kind of celebrating Spider-Man's history. And this one has pretty much every costume you'd want, especially if you get the DLC, because those have some new costumes too. It even has the Raimi suit, which is my personal favorite because it looks amazing, especially in the cutscenes. It like almost looks like it's literally just like Spider-Man 4. So yeah, you can use that to unlock costumes, or upgrade Spider-Man or what have you. Um, I think the only mini game I missed was the base assaults, which is basically just waves of enemies. But yeah, anyway, playing the game is a lot of fun. The web slinging is super super fun. Combat is pretty much like Arkham, but more in depth. There's definitely more you can do with it. It's a little bit more complex, even though pretty much like every other Spider-Man game, the best tactic is just to hold square and punch someone up into the air and then beat them until they're dead,
Yeah.
and then go to the next enemy over and over again. But you can have a lot of fun and really mix it up, which is what I like to do. But if you just want to get the job done, you can just do the basic stuff.
Hmm.
But it's a bit more in depth than the Arkham combat. So I would say everything surrounding the gameplay I don't really have any complaints about. The only thing I would really change is if there is ever a sequel, make it like they can easily make it better than Spider-Man 2's web slinging. All they have to do is make it a little bit less automated. Like for instance, in Spider-Man 2, if you wanted to web run, you had to have like proper momentum, approach the wall correctly, and like it was all a skill-based thing. Whereas in this one, he just kind of defies gravity and just sprints along the wall in like set 4 directions, which is okay. There's just a lot of automated web swinging sometimes, um, which does look cool, but sometimes it can be frustrating if you're trying to do something precise. It's funny because the game is trying to help you out, but sometimes it gets really annoying because sometimes it feels like you don't have enough control over what you're trying to do.
Hmm.
But the game is still, fun as hell with the web slinging. And like I said, it is like if someone said this was the best web slinging ever, I couldn't really disagree with them just because everything around, like I said, the world is so much more fun to explore and everything. And there's all these cool little graphical effects. Like if you fly or if you swing past a group of birds, they'll, scatter and everything. And that's really cool too. I do think Spider-Man 2's web slinging is just a little bit better, but the combat's fun. Web slinging's fun. I really don't have many problems with the gameplay. Now the story, I won't go too in depth with it. The story is entertaining enough, I would say. The character models look really, really amazing. Facial animation is amazing. It's crazy, like how far we've come with that stuff in video games, especially with stuff like Red Dead 2 or Uncharted 4. Those games really, really impressed me with their facial animations, and it seems like we're only going to continue down that path, which is great. The main problem I have with the story is that I feel it set up one villain to be like the main antagonist, and then it just like near the end it just adds like 5 more out of fucking nowhere, and it just kind of ruins the plot. And like I said, I haven't finished the plot yet, but I have a feeling it's still going to bother me by the end. I don't really see this turning itself around. So that was one problem I had with the plot. And the other thing is that, and this is also a gameplay issue actually, I forgot to mention. There's parts of the game where you play as Spider-Man's pals. So you play as Mary Jane and Miles. And Miles isn't Spider-Man in this game. He's just a normal kid. And in both sections, you kind of play like these mediocre stealth sequences where, you make some noise and then a guard's like, oh, what the hell? And then you run past him. They're very prevalent in this game, and they're not that fun. And, I just feel like in a
dramatic pause on that.
Yeah, I feel like in a Spider-Man game, that's not the type of stuff I want to do. And I guess I understand why they put it in there, because it's like, hey, even though we're not Spider-Man, we can still, like, help out and everything, and that's fine, but I think you could have just done that in a cutscene and not made me play as MJ throwing bottles or some shit. Like, it's a little stupid, in my opinion. Yeah, that I didn't really enjoy a whole hell of a lot. But, the game is enjoyable enough otherwise that it's not a huge deal. And the stealth sections are usually so easy that, like, they have, like, a bunch of enemies or whatever, and half the time you can just, like, make a noise and then run past everything in this section. Like, Miles will be like, oh, I should probably, like, hack this device over here and distract these guards, and then by the time he says that, I'm already over the fence and on to the next section. It's like I don't even have to do half the shit he's telling me to do. So yeah, those sections are kind of stupid. And I would also say that Miles in general, relating to the story, there is kind of a great emphasis on him halfway through. in certain parts of the game, and I felt like it was really, really jarring, and it just felt very strange. Like MJ was kind of here from the beginning, and she was integral to the plot, and then Miles seemed like he was just here for like a fan service thing. Then he becomes very crucial, and you start playing as him several times, and it felt a little bit jarring. But I think as the game went on, they went somewhere interesting with it. I think maybe just at first it was a weird impression. Like, okay, I don't know why we're playing as Miles. We just met this kid, and there seems to be like a half an hour dedicated to him out of nowhere. And that's kind of the main problem I have with the story. It's entertaining, but I wouldn't say it's like one of the best Spider-Man stories or anything. But you'll have
Does it
fun
feel
with
like
it.
they just tried to put like as much Spider-Man content as they could into a story?
Yeah, sorta, because it's like like I said, I feel like they just they wanted to do like one guy as the main villain, maybe two, because Otto Octavius is in the game, and it's obvious that he's going to become Doc Ock. But then at the end, they're like, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if like Spider-Man just fought the Sinister Six?" It's like, yeah, but there's like no build-up for it. It's like, yeah, whatever, just put him in there, and like, okay, we're fighting Rhino and Electro for like, there's no build-up. We're just fighting them now, and that's kind of weird. But yeah, whatever. I'm mainly playing this for the gameplay anyway. The story is, all well and good, but the gameplay is definitely my favorite part of it. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to mention. I don't, like I said, I'm not good at summarizing stories anyway, so I'm not going to do that. And Nick wants to play the game anyway, so I will let him experience the story for himself. But overall, yeah, just going back to my main point, because I do want to get to the E3 stuff now, I would say it's probably the best overall Spider-Man game. Has a lot of nice little touches, like you can, take selfies with Spider-Man, and it has a really in-depth photo mode that you can spend like probably a half an hour on each photo, just because there's so many little options. I know if you like stand on the street, every now and then a guy will come up and be like, "Hey, Spidey, high five." Which is pretty cool. And if you're walking around the streets, you can press square, and he'll like do like the weird Spider-Man 3 dance thing sometimes. Or he'll...
I've seen a lot of gifs of that.
Or,
I like that.
Yeah, he'll do a bunch of different animations that'll wave to people, which is pretty cool. And it's just a great celebration of Spider-Man, I guess. One funny thing is that J. Jonah Jameson in this game, he's kind of like Alex Jones almost, because he has like a podcast radio thing, and it's like a conspiracy thing about Spider-Man that plays as the game goes on, just like as background noise. So he has he has interview subjects, and he's like, "Oh, Spider-Man, oh, he's the one who did this attack," and whatnot, which is kind of a fun idea. I wouldn't say that any of them were as funny as like J.K. Simmons in the Spider-Man movies. It's kind of impossible to beat him in that writing, but they're entertaining, and I thought that was a cool idea. And one other thing I wanted to mention, actually two other things. One is a good thing, one is one I would have wanted to see more of. Another thing they pulled from Spider-Man 2 was like acrobatic tricks you can do. So in the original Spider-Man 2, you could buy like tricks at the store where like if you were swinging and you let go of your web before you did another web, you could press A and he would start doing rolls or different twists and flips, and then you could and then you could keep swinging, and it would give you like points that you could, there's like a experience system, and they would just give you a small amount of extra points, and they actually brought that back in Spider-Man PS4, which is really, really cool. The other thing I was just going to say, going back to the web slinging, one thing I preferred about Spider-Man 2 is that most of the things that you bought related to your web slinging and just made it better and better and better and cooler and cooler and cooler, whereas there's not really any web slinging upgrades you can buy. I mean, there's a few, but basically the web slinging arsenal you have for traversing the city at the beginning is kind of the same thing you have at the very end. The webs, you get a little bit faster as the game goes on. You get a few new moves, but that's about it, and that was kind of annoying. But yeah, overall, it's a great game, and I love it. I just think for a sequel, they could really hit it out of the park if they concentrate on Peter. I don't want to play as MJ. I don't want to play as Miles. I want to play as Spider-Man. Focus the story. Don't pull another Spider-Man 3. Focus the story on one character. You can have other villains as like side missions or some shit, but not as the main focus. Actually, sorry, one more thing I have to mention, because this is kind of another negative. A big minigame that I missed out on talking about was the Peter Parker minigames, which are kind of like science minigames. One of them is like, if you've ever played BioShock, there's that minigame where you have to like flip the pipes around to get the water to flow through.
Mm-hmm.
There's pretty much a game just exactly like that in this one. And then there's also a little minigame where it's like a spectrograph, and it has like 3 sections with white lines, and then they have a bunch of different white line patterns on the left. Then you have to like drag and drop them in the, like, for each column. It requires like a different pattern to fulfill the little pattern up on the screen. So if there's like 3 lines, let's say like the max amount of lines there can be is 4, and the first pattern has like 3 lines, mostly on the right side, so you have 1 blank spot to the left. And then you'd have to get like the correct pattern to form those 3 lines, and solve the puzzle. These are pretty fun, I would say. I don't mind them so much. Once again, it's stuff that I'm not sure if it should have been in a Spider-Man game or not. A lot of it is optional, but then there's stuff that you have to do as the game goes on, and it's just kind of weird. Once again, I think I understand what they were going for. Like, you're not just playing as Spider-Man, you're playing as Peter Parker, but it's a little bit... tried to add a little too much, tried to be a little too much of every game.
No pizza delivery missions?
And yeah, there was no pizza delivery. That's another thing that made Spider-Man 2 better. It had pizza delivery missions, which were fun as hell. They played stupid-ass music the entire time, and Mr. Aziz was in there, and he was like never happy with what you did. Sorry, Mr. Aziz. Yeah, no pizza delivery missions, and he never says pizza time, which is stupid, but he does try to stop the train by shooting webs out, which is kind of cool. And you can play it in the Raimi suit, so fair enough. Spider-Man, yeah. In the sequel, focus the web slinging on being better than Spider-Man 2. Cut out the dumb side characters, unless I can play as Miles if I get to play as Spider-Man Miles. That'd be fine. Thirdly, pizza delivery missions. Bring those back, okay? And keep the webbed costume, please. We don't want to have another debacle on Twitter about not having that costume in the game. So that's it. Overall, great game. I recommend it to everybody who is a Spider-Man fan, and even if you're not, because it's just a fun game. That is all I have to say. So I will send it over to Nick, because I've been talking for a fucking long time, and I'm parched, and we need to get to E3 soon.
Insomniac, make better puddles. Seriously.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's a joke. Anyway, yeah, I'll take the reins for a bit and talk about some of my other stuff. I won't talk super long on all of these games, but I have some stuff to talk about each of them. I'll start on the superhero topic. I played Batman Arkham Origins since the last podcast. Yeah, I beat it. I didn't do like a whole lot of side stuff. I mainly just played through the story. But for the most part, it was enjoyable. You can definitely feel that it wasn't Arcane that made it while you're playing
Rocksteady?
it. Yeah, Rocksteady. Sorry, I don't know why I said Arcane, but maybe Arkham.
Yeah, probably
in my head. But you can tell it wasn't Rocksteady that made it. There's just like weird things that didn't get enough polish that Rocksteady has in their versions of the Arkham games. But for the most part, it was pretty fun. I liked how it all took place over one night, and it was Christmas Eve. Not a whole lot of games really do that, so it was definitely unique, and it made for some fun levels. And they had like some Christmas music playing with like some dark twists, and I liked all that. I liked the villains that they had in the game, and I liked Troy Baker's Joker. I thought he did a pretty good job with it, and I liked a lot of the scenes that they had together where it was sort of like this was the first time the Joker appeared, and I thought that was kind of cool. We haven't really seen that in like a whole lot of stuff. I mean, maybe I'm sure it's in comics and everything like that, but I don't really read comics, so it was fun enough. I will say the Deathstroke boss fight was horrible. Like, I don't know why they chose that to be such an early boss fight and have it be like so weirdly paced where like if you're not perfect on your counters, you're just like you keep like losing. And like one thing that is a little annoying in some of the encounters is that you don't ever heal, which I mean that's sort of a thing with all the Batman games, is that you don't heal when you're in a fight. It gives you part of that difficulty. But in some of those fights in particular, it's really annoying when the fights go on for a really long time and you get through most of it and then you just get tapped once and then you got to go through like a whole another 40 dude fight again.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, it was fun. It had towers and puzzles and everything, and I did a couple of them, but really I was just there for the story and to play through it. This was the first one I think with the Batcave, right? I don't think that was in Arkham City.
Yeah, it was the first one you could really explore.
That was pretty fun. And yeah, like I said, the story was okay overall.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I played this game pretty recently too. And I liked it a lot. And I do want to give a shout out to Roger Craig Smith as Batman and Troy Baker as Joker. I think they both did a really nice job.
The detective stuff was fun too.
That
piecing
was
together the crime scenes.
That was pretty cool. I remember that. The snow thing and the Christmas thing I was a lot more excited about before I played it, but then after I played it, it was just kind of like, oh, I guess they kind of already did this in Arkham City besides the Christmas thing, but it was kind of already snowing in that game.
Yeah.
So it wasn't quite as unique as I thought it was going to be, and I think they mainly just reused the city from Arkham City. But it's a cool game. I remember I had a lot of freezing problems with it. I think it froze like 3 or 4 times for me, which is very annoying.
I don't think it ever froze for me, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's a really good game. I probably wouldn't... I don't think it's as good as Arkham Asylum or City. I only played a little bit of Night, but I probably would like this game better than Night from what I played. I know a lot of what Night is the Batmobile tank stuff, which is pretty dumb. So I feel like I'd probably prefer Origins had I finished Night. But yeah, if you haven't played it, I would definitely give it a spin because it's probably not. Well, it's not like the best in the series. It's still like a lot of fun.
It's not a bad game.
Yeah, if you like Arkham, you're gonna like it. So
yeah, it's very enjoyable. So it's more Arkham if you want more Arkham and you haven't touched it.
Yeah.
So, another game that I played recently, Sly Cooper: Thieves in Time, and I can definitively say after playing each of the Sly Cooper games that I think Sly Cooper is my new favorite platforming game series. I have liked each of the games that I've played, including Thieves of Time. I actually like Thieves of Time a lot. I don't know if it's just like a personal thing with me, but I really like time, like in things like movies or games. Like whenever there's like time travel involved, like Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies, and I know the recent Avengers Endgame, they had like a lot of time travel stuff, and I thought that was really cool. Thieves in Time is all about time travel. Basically, the book that Sly's family has passed down to generations, pages in it start disappearing, and it's a villain who is going back in time and kidnapping his relatives. There's a story component, but I won't spoil it as to why they're being kidnapped. But basically, you have to time travel back in time and rescue Sly's ancestors. And what's really cool is you get to play as each of his ancestors, in addition to Sly, Murray, what's his name?
Bentley.
Bentley, thank you, and Carmelita. So there's a lot of different playable characters, and each of the ancestors has their own like different mechanic that you can learn. There's a bunch of really creative levels, like an Arabian level. There's a medieval one, a prehistoric era. I'm trying to think of there's a Wild West one that was really cool. So there's just a lot of really creative levels. The gameplay of Sly, like running and jumping, like the animations, they animated it so well, and it feels so satisfying just running and jumping onto different poles and stuff. It isn't exactly like a precise platformer like a Mario, where like you have like really tight control over Mario, but not really a good grasp over the environment, and like the difficulty comes from platforming through the environment. A lot of what Sly does is he sort of magnetizes to objects, but it makes it feel just like you can do like really cool stuff, and like he always like twirls when he gets on to things, and like swinging is always really fun with the cane. So I just overall really enjoyed Thieves in Time. I will say one thing that I did not like, and this is a very minor thing, but it is a game that requires 6-axis control on the PS3, and I don't have a DualShock 3 controller. I know I'm probably in the minority with that, but it does lock you out of story missions because you need that for certain missions to be able to play, and that is always an issue. That and Killzone 2 required it, and it's always a huge pain in the butt whenever I come across a game that requires 6-axis, but it's definitely a really great game, and I highly recommend all the Sly games if anybody's never played them.
Yeah, I was gonna mention two things. Like, one, I'm really interested in Sly 4 with the time travel thing, because I always thought it was really cool in Sly 1 how, like, after each chapter or before each chapter, he would, like, tell you a little tale of one of his ancestors doing something, whether it was in the Wild West or what have you. I don't remember the specifics, but I remember always enjoying those, so it's cool that they actually let you kind of experience his ancestors. And the other funny thing is that I think I got Nick into Sly Cooper, and he's more of a fan now than I was, because I've only ever beaten the first one. I've beaten the first one several times, and then I've never been able to finish the second one. I've never played the third or the fourth one, so I keep meaning to catch up, but now he's more of a fan than I am, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's a great franchise. I love Sly.
You also reminded me of like the cutscenes, and the cutscenes get better and better and better each game, and they're the best in this. Basically, the cutscenes are almost entirely animated, and one thing that I know a lot of people enjoy about it, myself included, is along with the backstories of the ancestors, they also do a good job of setting up backstories for the villains in each level, because each level has like the final boss, and it's a different like group or a person, and everything's also like heist themed, so a lot of the times it has like sort of like a Snappy Ocean style with like big band music and everything, and it's cartoony, but like it also is they slip in a couple of adult jokes like a lot of the time, so it's definitely a really unique game. And if there's any series that I would want to come back after being dormant for a while, I would want Sly Cooper to come back on PS5, because I think they haven't made a bad one as far as I'm concerned so far. I know they have an animated TV show I think coming out this year, but we'll see how that does.
Do you know what Sucker Punch has been doing for like the past several years?
It's Ghost of Tsushima. It's their new game.
Right. I always get them in like Insomniac.
Yeah, I do too. They do like very similar types of projects.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe after Ghost of Tsushima, they can make Sly, unless Sony forces them to make it like a walking simulator thing.
Yeah, after Sly, they did Infamous, and then after Infamous, they're doing Ghost of Tsushima. So.
Yeah, I think Sly will return eventually. I mean, you know, I think like the big three platformers of the PS2 era were probably like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly. And I mean, Jak and Daxter, I have a hard time believing is going to come back with Naughty Dog doing anything but cutesy platformers. Ratchet and Clank was made by Insomniac, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had the new one a couple years ago that was tied in with the movie.
Yeah, they did. Well, Sly will come back eventually, and if the TV show comes out and it's good, then I think that will further bolster its chances. But yes, I would like to see another Sly. I think the series doesn't get enough respect. A lot of people talk about Ratchet or Jak or whatever, but Sly is probably the one I've enjoyed the most out of all of those series.
Yes,
So.
Sly's by far my favorite. And I played like a lot of Crash Bandicoot when I was younger and stuff. That used to be my favorite, but Sly, as far as I'm concerned, Sly far surpasses it in terms of my overall entertainment.
Yeah, every time you talk about it, I want to go back and finish 2 and finally finish the series so I can say I finally did that. But there's a lot of games to play, so we'll get back to it eventually.
And then the other games, I'll sort of rapid fire these real quick. I played a lot of Wii games because I've had some Wii games sitting in my backlog. I started Red Steel, and I've dropped Red Steel. I don't really enjoy it. That game actually makes my head hurt when playing it. I don't know if it's just the way that it's animated when you use the Wiimote. It's like you're not moving a cursor, you're moving the hands and the guns, and it just kind of looks weird to me. And also, the graphics look really bad in Red Steel. I mean, that's not necessarily something that's to be expected on the Wii, but like even if you look up Red Steel 2, Red Steel 2 looks way better. It has like this cel-shaded art style. It's like weird like western gun kind of thing. But yeah, Red Steel 1 is ugly to put it lightly. So I don't think I'm going to be picking that up again for a while. But the two games that I did play recently and beat were Dead Space Extraction and Donkey Kong Country Returns. Two very different ends of the spectrum on those. But Dead Space Extraction, it's a prequel to the Dead Space games that's exclusive to the Wii, but I do believe it's been ported to PC and PS3 in some fashion. I think it's bundled in with something. But it's an on-rails shooter, like super on-rails. You do not control your character. You just control where to shoot your gun and everything. It's cool. I really like the environments. It's actually, unlike Red Steel, it's a really good-looking Wii game. The character models actually look really good, which kind of surprised me at first because it's not something that I ever think about with Wii character models. But it's really cool. They really captured the essence of Dead Space. It's really slow. It's dark. It's spooky at times. You have to shoot off the limbs of all the necromorphs that are coming after you. There's a lot of different weapons, upgrades for your weapons. One thing that I think is really dumb about the game is actually the characters. All the characters, they're like, for the most part, they're not bad. They're not performed bad, but I think it may be just the writing. Like, there's times when characters flip 180 on how they're feeling, and then like 2 minutes later they'll be back to where they were. Like, there was this one bit where your character that you play as through most of the game, there's another character that's like a sort of like the military guy, and you'll be reminiscing with each other at one bit because there's clearly that you have like a past together. And then at one point there's also a girl that's with you and another guy that joins up, and you like shoot a necromorph to protect the girl at one point, and he said like, yeah, you're okay or whatever, and then the military friend comes up to you and he's like, what, do you want a medal or something? And it's just like way out of nowhere that he just gets so angry, and then the girl's like, come on guys, like not the time. And then like a couple minutes later, as a cop car goes by, a couple minutes later he's like, yeah, I got your back, man, I got your back. And it's like this was literally within like 10 minutes within the same mission. So I just thought that like some of the character stuff was weird, but
that sounds stupid.
for the most part, it's an enjoyable shooter. I had a good time with it. It may overstay its welcome a little bit. It's a little bit too long, but it's really not bad. And if you're into it, they have a bunch of digital comics that you can unlock that tell more Dead Space story. So I didn't really watch them, but if you're into it, that's there for people. And the other game, Donkey Kong Country Returns, never played a Donkey Kong game. I really liked the style in it, and like the graphics were like beautiful. Like, it almost doesn't even look like a Wii game. It looks like something that you would play on Switch. I got really pissed off playing this game. It is really obnoxious in its like design. Like, it's designed well, but it's designed well in that way that they make it very challenging for seemingly no reason at times. It's just hard to be hard at some points. You got to be really precise, or there's just not enough room for error. There was several missions where I would blow like 20-30 lives just trying to get through one spot, and I got through it, but it was annoying, and I don't think I'm going to play any more Donkey Kong games. But I liked the style that they had, and I liked how cutesy it was.
Yeah. The only Donkey Kong game I ever played was Donkey Kong Country, which I played on Nick's Super Nintendo Classic. And I kind of had the same impressions of it, where like it is really fun, but the game can be really, really infuriating at times. And you just have to repeat the same parts over and over and over again before you finally get it, which is fun to an extent, but I don't know.
I know you were playing minecart levels in Donkey Kong
Yeah.
Country.
Yeah,
They're
the-
back in this game, and they're just as annoying in this game.
Yeah, I did not like the minecart levels. Those are BS.
But there's one more game that I've been playing that I just started about 2 nights ago, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this. It was Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. I started playing that finally. Shane gave me, as I think a gift one year, maybe a birthday gift or something, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 on the Xbox. And they've just kind of been in the back of my mind. Like, I've always wanted to play them. I hear that they're like really great games and everything, so I finally decided to start playing the first one. And it's kind of coming at a good time because for whatever reason I felt like I wanted to play the itch, or like I had the itch to play a real like RPG, like just like I want to create my character, I want to deck out the skills and everything, I like numbers galore and everything. And this game is very much an RPG in that way. It actually somewhat made me laugh because in the character creator, they're talking about different skills, and they use very pen and paper terms. Like you'll be rolling d20 in the background for like different moves, whether you're gonna hit your attack or not. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like they're being very technical about this, and I always knew it was like a really in-depth RPG. And I'm enjoying my time so far with KOTOR. I like how there's like dialogue options and everything like that. Like it seems like a very, I know this, I can't attribute KOTOR to this, but it's like a primitive Fallout, and I like Fallout so much.
Yeah.
So like there's like skill checks, like if you have enough in your persuasive, you can like get different information and get different things that transpire differently. It's really fun. I'm still only on the first planet right now, but I know that there's multiple planets, and eventually it'll kind of balloon out and I'll be able to do whatever. It does have a couple of annoying old game things about it. Like, there technically is an autosave, but it's really trash. It's like once every 15 minutes. And they even say in the game, make sure to save frequently. And it's already happened once where I died and lost like 10 minutes of progression. And that always sucks. Like, I just hate that about some old games, because sometimes you get into it and you don't want to stop every like 5 minutes and save.
Yeah.
So that's a little annoying. And also some of the combat, it's real time, but it's like command based. So like you like hit attack, and then your character will go through his attack things. You're not like hitting a button to do individual blaster shots. You're just watching the battles take place. And some of the fights I think are not balanced at all well. Like there's certain fights where like I just keep losing, and then like I'll look it up online and it's like, oh, just spam grenades and that'll make it way easier. And typically whenever I do that, it ends up working, and luckily like I've saved up a lot of grenades just by exploring environments and stuff. But like there's just some things where you'll like go into a fight, get like your shit kicked in, and
Yeah.
it gets a little obnoxious sometimes when it doesn't feel like there's anything you do differently to win, other than I guess spamming grenades.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been playing that, and I'm gonna continue playing it. It's scratching the itch that I had.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, with the saving thing, I think it was originally a PC game, so they probably intended you to, like, quick save all the time. So the Xbox version probably doesn't have that, so it makes it even more annoying.
Yeah, the autosave, real quick before we move on to E3, finally, after
Almost
50
an
minutes.
hour, yeah.
We said at the beginning we were going to be in for the long haul. So it like I said, it technically has quick saving. That is, it'll quick save after 15 minutes and after you go to a new area. So if you're in the same area for like 20, 25 minutes, there's no quick save that triggers. So yeah, you can easily screw yourself. And also, I've been noticing this a lot with games that I play on backwards compatible on my 360. I do have an Xbox original, but I don't like digging it out because my controllers are like kind of busted, and I hate buying new controllers. So I play a lot of stuff through backwards compatibility on the 360. And a lot of bugs just start happening with some of these games. This game in particular, there's times when half my sound effects will cut out. Like, I'll get atmospheric sounds, I'll get door sounds, and I'll get footsteps. But then whenever I trigger fights, I won't get any dialogue, I won't get blaster shots, and I won't get, like, other battle sounds. that's weird. I just have to like quit out and restart the entire game and it fixes it. But it's like I don't know why that's happening. The frame rate's really bad, and it's kind of weird that it stutters in cutscenes too, and it sort of makes it sound like the characters have like Tourette's. Like they like pause like mid word and like it like hitches on their sound. Like it won't cut it out. It'll just be like, "You're at the first." Like it makes things just sound weird.
Yeah.
Again, not a big deal. It doesn't detract a whole lot from it, but yeah, I'm having fun with it so far.
That's good.
All right, so I guess we'll get into E3
Yes.
after talking about our stuff. So did you want to do the top fives first?
Yeah, we'll talk about the most important things first, and then
Talk about the good stuff first.
yeah, and then the miscellaneous things I'd like to talk about. And the miscellaneous stuff will go by really fast because a lot of things at this E3 were pre-rendered trailers, so
Yeah.
there's really not much to say. But
We'll talk about it in a general sense. But
yeah. So how do you want to do it? Do you want to alternate?
yeah, I think alternating's fun. So
Okay.
you can start first.
All right.
We haven't told each other our top fives yet either, so this will be maybe a surprise for both of us.
Yeah. I'll start with No More Heroes 3 as one of my most hyped things. So unfortunately, No More Heroes 3 was a pre-rendered trailer as far as I know. Maybe parts of it were in-game. But, and it was a short trailer too, so we didn't have much to see anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been a No More Heroes fan for years and years and years, and the first one specifically has been one of my favorite games for years and years and years. I do like the second one a lot too, but the first one is the one that's really my favorite. I know Nick likes the franchise a lot too.
Guess what, Shane? No More Heroes 3 is my number 2 on my list.
Oh, nice.
So
nice.
we can knock it out right now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, if that happens, there's no point in having me talk about it, and then
Yeah.
a few minutes later, Nick will talk about it. So, yeah, No More Heroes fans have been waiting for a sequel for many, many years now. And I'm also someone, and I know Nick is also someone who likes Suda 5.1 games or 51 games. 5.1 is the correct term, but everyone calls them Suda 51.
Mm-hmm.
I even liked the obscure shit. Like, I even liked Flower, Sun, and Rain. That game's not even good, but I did enjoy it. I thought the story was pretty cool. And
He has a sense of style that is unmatched in the industry.
definitely, you can always tell when it's a Suda game, even though I guess he hasn't really been a director since No More Heroes 1. I don't know if he's directed anything. But
I believe
think,
he directed Travis Strikes Again, but still,
yeah,
that's
I think
like
he
recent.
directed Travis Strikes Again. I think he's going to direct No More Heroes 3, but otherwise, like, he's always had like some part in the creative, like, vision for the game, but if he hasn't directed a game for a long time. So like even stuff like Shadows of the Damned was like a Suda 5.1 trip, but he didn't direct that game. And I know Shinji Mikami was involved in that one, so there's just been a lot of games where we don't know how much involvement he really has. I mean, it's obviously his company. It's pretty small. It's not like he's working on like 5 games at once. So he must have a pretty big degree of involvement, I guess. But I think it does make a difference whenever he's the one directing them. And it used to be that he directed every single game, including Killer 7 and No More Heroes 1, which were 2 of his most famous games. So it's nice to see him back in the director's seat, because I think that always makes a difference. Even though I did like a lot of the other titles Grasshopper has put out, especially Lollipop Chainsaw. That was sweet. Loved Killer is Dead. I thought that was an awesome game. And Shadows of the Damned was pretty fun too.
The games, if I can, real quick,
Yeah.
they have their issues. Like they're not perfect games by any stretch.
None of his games are perfect or super well polished games.
But like we said before, they are definitely unique, and that uniqueness and the style is really what you come for, I think, for Suda.
Yeah, it's always something different, which is what's exciting. Especially like his older games were really, really weird and out there. I still haven't played the Silver Case. Unfortunately, I really want to play that. But I can tell you that Flower, Sun, and Rain was really fucking weird. But it was a cool game. And Killer 7, I never finished Killer 7. I know I need to go back and finish it. But from what I played of that, I've never played anything like Killer 7. It was really, really cool. And No More Heroes is weird as well. So yeah, his games are always a lot of fun. So I'm always excited to see what Suda's going to do next. So, yeah, No More Heroes 3. In terms of like what I want to see from it, I would like to see the open world aspect return from the first one. I think that was something that was missing in the second one that I really didn't like that it was missing, which is kind of funny because the open world wasn't great in the first one. So going into the second one for the first time, I thought it was going to be a big game changer in a good way, that it wasn't there was no open world this time.
Yeah.
But then I just found that I missed it, and it kind of took some of the personality away from the game. Also, Travis 1, or No More Heroes 1, had a lot of weird little jobs that you could do. Like, you could collect, like, scorpions in a desert, or, like, shake trees to get coconuts down, or mow the lawn, or
Pump people's gas.
or yeah, pump people's gas. There was just all these little weird mini games that were fun, and there was a training where like you could go to a gym and like do like bench pressing and like squatting or whatever, and increase Travis's power and whatnot. That gave a lot of personality to the game, and it was a lot of fun. You could also go to the store and customize the crap out of Travis, which was one of my favorite things to do, to the point where I got all the outfits in 1 and 2, and that took a long time, but I did it. Yeah, the second one, it didn't have the open world, it didn't have the little mini games like the bench press stuff, but it did have like 8-bit mini games, I guess, which were kind of fun.
It was supposed to be in the same vein, but they were like more retro styled. And
yeah,
like you're sort
they
of
were
alluding
okay,
to,
but there wasn't as many of them, and I thought they got old pretty quick.
they get old very fast. I didn't play them for more than like 10 minutes.
Yeah. The good news is that you don't really need to do the mini games to like progress to the next fight like you had to do in the first one, but then it just makes it even, I don't know, a little bit more pointless, I guess.
It is kind of funny that you bring it up, because the mini games, while you're doing it, it's really mundane, but I think it makes the actual levels that you go through to fight the bosses that much better, because it's you actually like, I think this was actually something that I heard in an interview with Suda or something, but it's like he actually designed it to make you like feel like you actually work to achieve like the good levels, which again, take it or leave it, like that could put people off, but it does have a noticeable effect in the first game that the second game doesn't get.
Yeah, and I mean also like going through the levels, they're for the most part they're pretty much linear levels where you just beat the shit out of guys, but it's pretty satisfying. But the bosses were the real show stealers in No More Heroes 1. They all had very distinct personalities and designs. And Travis usually talked to him for like 3 or 4 minutes before the fight started, and that was always just a treat and kept you going, even if the game got bored sometimes or boring sometimes. The fights were always worth it. Whereas in No More Heroes 2, there's some of the fights that like you literally just see the guys show up and they don't even talk, and then they just fight and that's it.
Yeah.
And I know even Suda said he was disappointed about that too. So hopefully No More Heroes 3 really doubles down on that.
That's the biggest thing that I want to see.
Yeah, and we see a really colorful cast of characters come back, so I think it's going to be really good. So I think that's mostly all I have to say about No More Heroes 3, but I'm very excited to see more, and I also want to play Travis Strikes Again. I want to get a Switch, and you're going to hear me talk about the Switch a lot during this podcast, so I don't know if I should just get it for the Switch when I eventually buy one, or get it on PS4. Undecided right now, but I do want to play Travis Strikes Again eventually.
Yeah, I also haven't played it, but that's the biggest thing that I want from 3. Obviously, I don't think the over-the-top violence or the wrestling moves are going to be gone from the trailer. That was obviously great. I know he's playing Ape Out on his TV, so I'm sure there's going to be a hell of a lot of references and indie design stuff. So it's why it's my number 2. I just really like Suda's stuff. I'm more of a relatively like new fan, like you were saying, like a lot of his newer stuff. I haven't played Flower, Sun, and Rain or Killer 7 or Silver Case, but I intend on playing them soon. And yeah, that was like one of my most excitement-inducing announcements from the Nintendo Direct.
Yeah, it was super, super amazing. I'm super happy that game's being made. So I guess you can go ahead and
Yeah.
name your.
I'll do my. So that was my number 2 on my top 5 list. I'll go back to my number 5 though, which is Deathloop. Deathloop
yes.
was a CG trailer, obviously, as we've alluded to, which stinks, yes, but it's one of the better CG trailers that we got from the entire show.
Yeah.
It's being developed by Arcane Studios, known for Dishonored and Prey.
Yep.
And we don't exactly know how this game's going to be played, but look at Dishonored and Prey, it's probably going to be a first-person action game
Yeah.
with multiple ways to handle things. And that is reinforced by A, the name, but B, what the trailer sort of shows, which is these two people, I forget their names, but they are basically caught in this place called Black Reef, and they're caught in a time loop. So they're basically killing each other. They have different different morals, or like a different mission that seems to oppose each other, and something to the key to whatever they're trying to do, their goals, is killing the other person. This has a very like 70s film style in the trailer. There's lots of popping orange in several spots, and like I had said before when I was talking about Sly, time is a thing that really just gets me excited at a base level. So what they showed, I mean, it was ticking all the boxes for me. I think the style in this trailer is really cool. The world that they're setting up is really cool. Again, CG, snooze a little bit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, I haven't had a bad experience with an Arcane game yet, so it excites me that potentially maybe there'll be multiplayer if it's like 1v1 sort of situations. I doubt it. It's probably going to be single player and you just pick your character. I'm guessing. This is all, speculation. But I just think that the concept was really awesome. The style I really vibed with. Kind of the splashes of color kind of reminded me of Spider-Verse when I first saw it, and I was like, yeah, that looks cool. And yeah, it's just a lot of things that spoke to me, and that's why it's my number 5. Like we know like nothing about it, and that's why it's pretty low on the list. But from what they did announce and show, I like it a lot.
Yeah. I thought it looked really cool too. I haven't seen the trailer since it originally was shown off live, so I don't have much to say in depth, but I do agree with Nick that it looks really cool. So, and it was one of my honorable mentions as something I was interested in. So, yeah, I agree. But I'm going to leave most of the discussion on that one to Nick because I don't have much to say about it now.
One last thing before we move on is just it's probably going to be more, from what we can tell on the trailer, it's probably going to be more shooter focused.
Yeah.
Arcane's games, Prey is somewhat of a shooter from what I can tell, but definitely there's like, I don't think shooting is a big focus. Maybe I'm wrong in saying that because I haven't played it, but it just seemed like the exploration and like sort of like survival mechanics sort of reinforce that you're not supposed to be guns blazing all the time. And Dishonored is a big emphasis on stealth and like also melee combat. They're shooting at each other like the entire time, so I have a feeling this one's going to be more of a shooter than the other two.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was all I wanted to say.
I agree. All right, so let's see what my number 4 is. I need to pick one for my number 4. Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Hey, Shane.
What?
That's my number 4.
Oh, wow.
And that's one of the ones that I thought might surprise you.
What a coincidence, yeah. So, the Final Fantasy VII Remake is something that, like a lot of people, I've wanted. Although, I was one of the people that wanted, like, just a graphical upgrade with, like, nice modern cutscenes and voice acting and orchestral music. Otherwise, the gameplay could be, like, exactly the same. But that's not what we're getting. We're getting more of a sort of reimagining of the gameplay where it seems like it's, like, part action game, part turn-based ATB system like the original one was.
Basically, if Final Fantasy VII was made today and not in the 90s or whenever it came out.
Well, yeah. No,
that's kind of what I took.
I don't really agree because I mean saying that implies that like turn-based games aren't made anymore, but Dragon Quest is still turn-based and Persona is still completely turn-based.
I guess, yeah.
I would just say it's more of an amalgamation of an action system similar to Final Fantasy 15 and
That's sort of what I was
Eternatus.
getting
Yeah.
at.
It's more of just a combination of two different games, which I'll have to play it for myself. I just know that what I played from Final Fantasy 15, I did not like the gameplay. I thought it was very strange and kind of boring. But I think what they're trying to do here is kind of cool. It seems like you kind of have like the action experience for a little while, and then once you build up your ATB gauge, you can slow things down and do a more powerful attack and kind of select it from a menu and select the enemies you want to target, just like the original game. And it seems like if you just want to like mainly have more of an action game experience, you can do that too. So they kind of want the player to play the game however he or she may want to play it, which is cool. I'm just going to have to play a demo for myself to really be sold on the combat as being fun and something I'll want to keep doing for however many hours this whole thing ends up being, because we knew it was going to be multiple parts whenever they announced it, but recently in an interview they said, we don't really know how many parts it's going to be, so we could be here for 4 or 5 parts, which also means I will not be getting this game on release, and I will not buy it unless it is like, it has to be very good, and it has to have like it has to be pretty large. You know, it has to be like a full game. I don't mind buying them in, like I said, I don't mind buying them individually if like it's actually worthwhile and it's actually very good. So you know, we'll see. I hope the combat system is at least fun.
I have
and
a
it looks
real
okay.
quick question. Did you watch the entire presentation of Square Enix when they talked like the entire set about Final Fantasy VII?
No, I watched like a gameplay demo with I think Katase or some that was like 10 minutes long or something.
Right before the demo, they had like they were talking a little bit about the game, and they said that this one that we're getting in Midgar in March is 2 Blu-ray discs of content.
Oh wow.
So, however that translates, I can't say. Whether or not one of those is like a Red Dead situation where one's an install disc and one's a play disc or something like that, I can't say. But I don't think it's gonna be like a 10-hour game. I think you're gonna get at least probably 30, at least. I would hope.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, the original game only took like 70 hours to beat, so I mean, it's cool that they're fleshing everything out, I guess, but like, I hope it doesn't turn into like, okay, this did not need to be this dragged out, because this entire first game is only going to be Midgar.
Running into a Hobbit situation.
So, yeah, exactly. So we'll see. Hopefully it works. I will say, like, there's parts of it that are just undeniably good. Like, the graphics look, you know, fantastic. The character models look amazing. That's one thing you can always count on Square doing right. Even with Kingdom Hearts 3, you know, the graphics look nice. Characters look nice, blah, blah, blah. Animation look nice. But, you know, we'll see as an actual game. I am more excited for it now than I was before. I'm still skeptical, though. I do want to play it for myself, and I'm, like I said, not getting a release date. But out of everything at the show, I thought it had a really nice showing. And there's a lot to, I think, love about this so far and look forward to. So that's enough for it to be in my top 5 coolest things at E3. I'm interested to hear more, and hopefully we get a demo, and we can maybe try out the combat system. If I feel like the combat system is fun and there's something cool here, then I would be like pretty much all in on the hype train, assuming they don't like screw the story up or would do something stupid like change the characters or whatever. But considering they still have the scene where Cloud gets dressed up as a woman and tries to seduce like some tubby Italian guy, I think we'll be okay. They seem to be okay with having the silly stuff in too, so that's good.
So we've had a couple conversations, maybe not on the podcast, but about Final Fantasy VII Remake. And up to this point, I have not been in at all on Final Fantasy VII. I only played about a half an hour to an hour of the original game. I have no attachment basically to any Final Fantasy. I've just never really been a Final Fantasy fan. So even the other trailers that they've released to this point, I'm like, yeah, that's cool. I know people have been wanting that, but it's like I don't see myself playing it. The game demo kind of won me over on it because they did such a good job explaining how it actually does it. Like, a lot of times we see game demos and we just sort of understand how a game plays. But I was not able to do that with the earlier Final Fantasy VII Remake trailers. Like, I was asking you, like, I just don't know if it's something that I would be into. Like, I can't tell if it's, like, I don't know, like Crisis Core or something, where you're sort of inputting commands. It's not, like, as tactile with the buttons. But in the opening couple of seconds of that demo, they're like, every hit of the button is a sword slash from Cloud. And I'm like, okay, I understand how that's going to feel playing it and seeing it on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I think the slow-mo ATB stuff, that looks awesome. Like, I haven't seen that sort of, like, effect, really, in any game that I can think of. And to be able to pause the action like that at any moment, like, on any frame, I think that's really cool. Like you said, the character models are cool. I think the environments look really cool. One thing I am a little concerned about in the demo, obviously a big part of that demo is showing this boss fight with like a giant spider robot from the beginning of the game. And that fight goes on for a long time. And that's cool, because, like, this isn't just some cheap boss that you're gonna, bonk on his head 3 times. He's gonna be dead.
Yeah.
At the same time, I worry that might get tiring to fight.
Yeah, I'm actually glad you brought that up, because I felt the same when I watched it today. It was like, oh my god, like, this thing
it goes
takes a
on
fucking
for a
beating.
long time.
I mean, they may have just done that for the demo, but if it's like that in the actual game, I can imagine, like, late game fights being like, holy fuck.
And to be fair, it's not like you're just fighting the same thing the entire time. There are different phases. Like, there's one part where it gets a giant shield, and you got to figure out how to work around that. There's parts where, like, parts of the environment are falling down, and it has a tail laser, and you got to hide behind the stuff where you can go in and hide from the laser and everything like that. There's a lot of dynamic stuff where, like, one character can get grabbed, and you switch to the other one, and you can, like, continue fighting. But yeah, even in that demo, like, I feel it, like, the length on just that one fight. And who knows, maybe that's where some of the elongated content's coming from. Encounters going a little too long.
That's what I worry. I almost feel like this game's going to be like a Final Fantasy 13 trilogy situation, where, like, the first game is, like, really bad, and then, like, the second game improved its gameplay and fixed a lot of the problems that people had with the game. And then the third one, I think, improved it even further, even though I never really played the third one. Although we're not, ignoring the story and whatever. We're just talking about the gameplay. It did make significant improvements to the gameplay in the second one and the third one. So it might be like that, or like the first one just kind of sucks dick, and then, like, the other ones are pretty cool. I don't know. We'll see. I do wonder if the save progress is going to carry over with each game. I
feel like it would have to.
I think it'd be stupid if they didn't, but yeah,
it will be interesting, though, because those future games probably aren't going to be on PS4 at the time that they come out. It's probably going to be next gen.
I still don't like the multiple game thing. It just feels very unnecessary to me. Mm-hmm. Like, if Rockstar can make something like, Red Dead 2, like, it was a huge open world, it was like a 60-70 hour game on one disc, one release. I don't see why this requires this many fucking releases. Mm-hmm. It feels very strange to me, and that's why I'm still kind of shaky on this game. And I've never been, like, the biggest Final Fantasy VII fan. I do like the game. I enjoyed it a lot when I played it a few years ago, but yeah, there's still a lot of things I'm iffy about, but I'm excited, I guess, so far.
I definitely like the visual style, and I think that's what draws a lot of people to 7. Like, it seems very distinctly its own. I mean, I've heard and seen that Midgar is not the entire game. That's only, like, just like a chunk of it, and it gets more, like, fantasy-esque the later you go. But definitely at this time, it's piqued my interest, and I'm way more on board now than I was even like a month ago at PlayStation whatever their live streams are. State of Play. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. So, all right.
So we've gone through 3 of mine. No More Heroes, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Deathloop. My number 3, another possible surprise. Luigi's Mansion 3.
Whoa, bro.
Is that a surprise?
Sorta. I mean, you seemed like you were getting pretty excited about that, so... But yeah, I probably wouldn't have pegged you, for putting that in your top 5, I guess. Yeah.
So guess what? Like Final Fantasy, I've never played Luigi's Mansion, but I will say, like the Final Fantasy VII remake, this had a really good showing during Nintendo Direct. I thought the environments they showed off in this hotel were so creative and so cool. I really liked the vibe that, like, this trailer. Like, some people thought it was a little hokey with the, like, Luigi, it's spooky kind of narration.
Well, that's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be like tongue in cheek.
I really liked it, and the more I was watching of Luigi's Mansion, the more it dawned on me that it's like, I don't think there's another game like this.
Yeah, there really isn't. I mean, that goes for a lot of Nintendo games. A lot of people don't really try to emulate them because they're gonna. I mean, like, look at Smash. Look how popular it is. PlayStation tried it once, didn't really work, and then no one. I mean,
there's like some
the
indie
style
versions.
has been emulated, but like Microsoft hasn't tried to like band together a bunch of like third-party companies or anything. You know, Smash gameplay was pretty unique. Luigi's Mansion, you know, even like the Super Mario, the 3D style with like Odyssey. Like, there's not really any platformers trying to do like a Mario ripoff or anything. So that goes for a lot of Nintendo games, and that's why I think people really like them.
But yeah, like, everything they showed, like, all the gameplay stuff where it's like you're sucking up a ghost and like you like smash them into the floor and like everything, stuff where you're like breaking furniture and pulling all this stuff down. Gooigi, which I called was gonna be meme to hell in my reaction. I'm surprised to say that I haven't seen many, which, with a name like Gooigi, I was really thinking that people were gonna go to town on that. But I think that's really cool. It has, like, with the Gooigi components, like 8-player co-op, like multiplayer. The bosses that they showed off looked really cool, and like, I just really liked what they showed, and I was like, it made me excited that I want to go and play the others. I want to go play 1 and Dark Moon. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 3, like, that's something that I could seriously consider seeing myself playing. And like, sometimes it's hit and miss with Nintendo, like Splatoon. We talked about it a little bit earlier. That's like, we'd like to give Splatoon a try, but it's like, even when they announced it, I was like, it looks like a Nintendo game. Like, I don't know if I'd play it. Yeah. But this one, I'm like, yeah, I want to play that. Like, I definitely want to pick that up and play that.
Yeah, I've played Luigi's Mansion 1, and it's been a few years at this point, but I do remember liking that game a lot, and it is very, very unique. So, yeah, I mean, maybe, hold on, I'm getting a little tired. Maybe I will go back and, you know, replay them all someday. But
they just ported the first one.
It does look good, yeah, and I know that, yeah.
Yeah, they ported it to 3DS,
so.
But I was looking into it recently, and it's kind of significantly downgraded, so.
Yeah, if you can get the GameCube version, you might want to. But, yeah, it is a really cool game, and I'm glad that Luigi finally gets some time in the spotlight, because he's a great character.
Apparently he's a hit with the ladies, according to a lot of articles.
Really?
Yeah, someone, I think the producer, was like, according to market data, women prefer Luigi. Like, I don't really know the context on it.
It's probably because he's taller than Mario, so he gets all the women, and no one wants shorty midget Mario. That's my guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but Luigi's Mansion, that looked really cool.
He's less portly. Yeah, that's a cool pick. Let me see what I still have left real quick. How many did I...
I think you've had 2, basically.
All
Final
right.
Fantasy VII and No More Heroes.
Alright, I'm going to go with the unexpected one, because I don't want you to take it. The unexpected one for me is Breath of the Wild 2.
That is unexpected. Holy shit.
And I knew I was going to get that response because I trashed on Breath of the Wild 1 a lot. And when Breath of the Wild 2 was announced, I was like, yeah, whatever. But what I've always felt about Breath of the Wild 1 is that it's a great prototype for something that could actually be a masterpiece or something truly wonderful. I don't feel that first game reached the levels people said it did. I think it had too many issues with the open world, the fact that it basically did not have dungeons, its story was very bare bones. The combat system was kind of crappy. Weapon breakage was rather annoying.
Honestly, one of the worst weapon breaking like things. Like you get like 3 hits and some of those weapons break.
Yeah. I thought a lot of the collectibles were really crappy, and I just feel like the game like did not get criticized for a lot of the things it should have gotten criticized for. And even going back to the dungeons that it did have were all very, very similar. They didn't really have a
They were just bigger
cool
shrines.
yeah, it wasn't really a cool aesthetic. The shrines were kind of boring to look at. Lots of problems for this game to have that no one seemed to give a shit about or criticize, which was very annoying to me. But the reason why I have Breath of the Wild 2 here is that I think Nintendo can and will knock it out of the park this time. I think even the people that really liked Breath of the Wild are willing to admit that, yeah, it needed traditional dungeons, and not the stupid shrine animal things. It needed real dungeons. We're talking Snow Peak Ruins, or whatever the mansion was in Twilight Princess. That was a great fucking dungeon. The Majora's Mask, the Stone Tower Temple. That's what we want, okay? Those great classic Zelda dungeons that only Nintendo can do. Only Zelda can do. I've never played another franchise that ever did Zelda dungeons as well as Zelda did Zelda dungeons.
I follow into that camp where like I liked Breath of the Wild a lot, but basically all of those points that you just said as negatives I fully agree with. And yeah, as long as we're just like on the topic, I'll just throw my 2 cents in. If they do like incorporate all that feedback into this sequel, I think it's gonna blow Breath of the Wild 1 out of the water.
Yeah, exactly, because there's, the first like year or so when that game was out, you could not criticize it. If you criticized it, you would be downvoted to hell. You would say, no, you're wrong, it's the best game ever, you can't criticize it. Now that people untwisted their fucking panties for 5 seconds, we can talk about the game as civilized human beings. Because remember, the same thing happens with almost every Zelda game, and it happened with Skyward Sword. I remember when it came out, that game got 10s across the board. I didn't like it that much whenever I played it, and then here we go, years later. Oh, yeah, that game's probably one of the worst. Yeah, it is. So why didn't you think it was one of the worst when it fucking came out? Now, I'm not saying Breath of the Wild was that bad or anything, but Breath of the Wild definitely has its own problems. So, once again, the reason why it is one of my most hyped games is because I love Zelda, and I think if they take what worked with Breath of the Wild, where having a truly having a great freedom to explore and really just literally do what you want, like you're just dropped into Hyrule, you can go any direction you want to, you can go try and fight the boss and you can kill it if you're really, really skilled, I guess, and you have the patience of a saint. You can go anywhere you want and do what you want. You can climb on anything. Unlike Todd Howard, who lies a lot, if you see a mountain, you really can climb to the top of it. If you have the, stamina and everything, this time improve the collectibles. I guess expand the land. That's probably what they're going to do. I'm assuming, even though they're going to use the map from Breath of the Wild 1, probably going to have more land masses, add those dungeons, improve the combat system, either get rid of the weapon degradation entirely or tone it down. I don't want to have all my tools at the very beginning of the game and not get anything else. One of my favorite parts about dungeons is wondering what's going to be in the big secret item chest that you can use. Now, stuff like the spinner from Twilight Princess, that was a cool idea, but it only got used in that one dungeon for the most part.
Yeah.
Ball and chain, that's a cool idea too, but we only use it once again in that one dungeon, and you can use it for some boss fights. So I want to have more things to explore. I want to have areas where I can't get past it because I don't have this one thing yet. I know, once again, it's cool what they tried to do in Breath of the Wild, where it's like you have all the tools you need to get past a certain thing, unless you need to upgrade it or whatever, but I missed that a lot. So I just want them to rein it back a bit. And the way I've always described what they did with Breath of the Wild is that if the Zelda games are on a spectrum from linear to non-linear, and Skyward Sword is firmly in the linear camp, instead of just pulling it back to the middle a little bit, they shoved it all the way to the right and went way too far with it, and it started to lose what made the Zelda games great. So they need to bring it back a little bit. Think about what made the older games great. Even Skyward Sword had great things in it, including some of the dungeons. So really concentrate on that. And I would like to have more of a story this time. Some people say like, oh, Zelda game story, whatever. I don't care. I like the story. It's fun. It's entertaining. Have the story. It'd be cool if we got to play Zelda this time. Nick and I were talking earlier. Maybe it'll be like a Metal Gear Solid 2 situation where we play as Link for a half an hour or an hour or something, and then we play Zelda the entire rest of the game and have to rescue Link or something. That'd be pretty neat. But yes, I am excited for Breath of the Wild 2, and I hope this time I can revel in the excitement that everyone had for the first one. If they fix the problems I have with it, mainly, I want lots of fucking dungeons this time, like Twilight Princess Ocarina levels of like having 12 dungeons or something. Weapon degradation, story. I would like more music rather than just the diddling, diddling. And that was like the entire soundtrack of that game.
Get a new musical instrument in there.
Yes. Yeah, better weapons, improve the combat a little bit. Just improvements on everything. Mainly dungeons, though.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that I want.
Yeah.
One thing that I do think is interesting to know, obviously Shane and I are both big fans of Easy Allies, and I watch a lot of their stuff, and they've been talking a lot about Breath of the Wild too. And one thing that I think is interesting to note is for the story in the first game, a lot of it takes place in the past. There's not a whole lot of story that occurs in the present while you're playing. It's a lot of Link remembering things that happened 100 years ago. And at least from what we can tell right now, we are in the present experiencing a story moving forward. So I think that's something that already might make the story feel a little bit better and a little bit more unpredictable. And I think that's a good early sign that we can get already.
Yeah. So, here's hoping for Breath of the Wild 2. I really hope they knock it out of the park this time, and I love it. And then we can all forget about how bad the first one was.
I'm excited for Ganondorf.
Yeah, I'm excited for Ganondorf. And
not Ganon Cloud.
Yeah,
big elephant that doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm excited for the real Ganondorf. No, the first one was not bad. There are good parts and things that I am rather fond of. I liked the infiltrating Hyrule Castle. That was pretty fucking hard.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that a lot. But the other thing that annoyed me about that game is that it didn't have like half the classic items. Like even if you didn't get them in chests, like it didn't even have a hook shot or anything, which is kind of dumb. So
bring it back.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just very interested to see how they go about this one. Hopefully they just bring it back to a more traditional Zelda. So here's hoping. I wish them luck. And if it turns out to be crappy again, at least Link's Awakening is a great game. So we'll play that.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to enjoy a brand new Zelda game along with that. So good luck to Nintendo. I think they're good at taking criticism on board. I mean, look, once again, actually, I know I'm starting to ramble a little bit, but with Skyward Sword, that game got 10s out the ass. But yet, even though they got perfect 10s, which should signify the game is near flawless and has almost no problems, they still were able to identify that people did not like how linear that game was, and they fixed it, did they not? So, I am very confident that Nintendo will be able to recognize the faults with Breath of the Wild and hopefully fix them and make it into a super, super amazing game going forward.
Took away the motion controls. I mean,
motion controls was not that fun.
That was more of a thing for the Wii overall, and it seemed like the Switch is shifting more back towards a core game console. But that was something else that I know some people did not like. I didn't like it either. I felt it was a little unresponsive. But that's Skyward Sword.
Yeah, and since this game is going to be kind of like a Majora's Mask to Breath of the Wild, in some ways they should bring back masks because that was badass. And why does that game only have masks? Only Majora's Mask has those cool masks that like turn you into a giant and shit. They should bring that back. And they should bring back sailing like Wind Waker too. That was a good one. Okay, maybe they shouldn't do that. Not that I don't like the sailing, but maybe they just keep it its own thing. Don't try to imitate everything.
Mm-hmm.
But good luck to Breath of the Wild 2. I think we're in for a treat this time. And if you liked the first one, good for you. I didn't. So
I liked it, but I recognize it has problems.
That's good. I'm going to save my last game one for the very last one. But the next one is the Smash characters. Even though that wasn't a game, I was a little apprehensive of like including this one, but it was one of my most
It
hyped
counts.
things. So, yeah, I'm one of the lucky people that is hyped for both characters, even though I am more hyped for Dragon Quest because I'm a big Dragon Quest fan. I love everything I've played in that franchise. I want to play more of that franchise. So I know some people tried to poo-poo Dragon Quest, which was A, very disrespectful, and B, very ignorant. And I'm very serious about those things because I've heard some people acting like complete dumbasses online saying, like, I don't understand why they even deserve to be in Smash. Like, they are so ignorant of how important that franchise is, not just to Japan, but to JRPGs in general. You would not have Final Fantasy or Earthbound or almost fucking anything because that game alone created that genre. And even Pokemon, Dragon Quest V was the first game ever to have monsters that you could capture and put in your party. It inspired Pokemon. It is like the biggest fucking thing in Japan besides maybe Pokemon and like Mario, whatever. But it's still like almost a national holiday. Japan almost shuts down whenever a new Dragon Quest game comes out. So it deserves your respect. Not only because it was important to Japan, but because they're good fucking games that you should be playing instead of whining about games you haven't played before. Dragon Quest XI, for instance, is coming out for the Switch. You can play that, and it'll be amazing. I'm sure. So, the Dragon Quest heroes are there, which is awesome. They have Dragon Quest XI hero. They have 4, 8, and they have Erdrick from Dragon Quest III. Unfortunately, a lot of the other heroes were relegated to the final Smash. Some of that was kind of surprising, including the Dragon Quest V hero, because he's probably the most popular one, and that game is actually getting a movie adaptation in Japan this year, I think. So it's weird that he wasn't playable, but he's supposed to be more like a mage character, so I guess it wouldn't fit with the sword fighting, but I think they should have put him in anyway. But it's still really cool that they decided to put like all the heroes in, and they will each have an alternate color as well, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I will move to Banjo in a second. I'm just saying to the people who do not know much about Dragon Quest, try to educate yourself on Dragon Quest. Know that they probably deserve to be in Smash more than any other third-party character you can name. And I'm not joking about that whatsoever. Snake's cool. He does not deserve to be in over the Dragon Quest characters. Cloud's cool. He does not deserve to be in over the Dragon Quest characters in terms of having a history with Nintendo and how important it was to gaming, and especially Japanese gaming in general. They are the most important fucking thing that has ever made it into Smash from the perspective of the Japanese gamer, the Japanese public. For Japanese fans, they don't give a fuck about Banjo. They don't care about this weird bear and his fucking bird. You know what I mean? They don't care. They won Dragon Quest. It was their big moment. And then for the West, they had Banjo-Kazooie, which is also very cool. I'm not a big Banjo fan. I've only played a little bit, but I'm not a fan of the collect all these little feathers and then collect all these things in this level and whatnot. And I don't want the people who say Mario 64 or Mario in general is a collectathon, because it is not. You don't know what that word means. They are very different games. Mario 64 had levels, okay, and then they had an objective for each star. One star might be get to the top of the mountain, and then you get a star. The next one might be kill the Bob-omb in this corner, then you get a star, etc. Banjo was, here you are in this level, there's 50 blue feathers, go fucking find them and collect all of them. And if you miss one, have fun searching for an hour. I don't like that personally, but Banjo and Rare Games do have a lot of personality, and they do have a strong history with Nintendo. I'm sure I know Phil Spencer's a nice guy, so it probably wasn't that hard to work out a deal, but it's still nice that they were able to come to a conclusion. It's always nice when stuff like that in games happen. So it's exciting for, all parties involved. So, don't have much more to say, although I will say I do want to play Smash even more now. I want to get a Switch so I can play Smash Ultimate and get the DLC pack. I want to play as all the characters, even Joker, who looks awesome, even though I haven't played Persona. I'm excited for the Dragon Quest hero the most, though, because Dragon Quest is fucking awesome. Show it some respect, please, even if you haven't played it. And if you haven't played it, and if you have any interest in RPGs, play a Dragon Quest game, because they're fucking cool. Okay, especially all the Final Fantasy fans out there. There's been so many Final Fantasy fans that keep saying, "Oh, I want it to return to the classic medieval turn-based style." Here's your fucking answer. They've been making those games for years and years and years, and Dragon Quest has always been better than Final Fantasy. It's always been better than Final Fantasy. You know, I know you played Final Fantasy VIII when you were like 12 years old and you thought all the emo shit was cool. Yeah. Nowadays it just sucks and it's completely awful. Play Dragon Quest. It's a million times more charming and it will never ever age because it's always charming. It's always fun. You know, it's not corny like old Final Fantasy games sometimes were. Okay, and the music's awesome. So show respect to Dragon Quest and show respect to Banjo. Everybody won in the end. They're both great franchises. They're both great picks for Smash. And let's be happy that we didn't get like Steve from Minecraft instead, or some other such shit. That would have been dumb. So
one thing I wanted to say on the topic of Smash, obviously I don't have much connection to Dragon Quest, but I was still excited to see them there because from what you've told me, I know it's like a big deal in Japan and everything.
Yeah.
And the thing that I honestly like more than the character themselves announcements now is specifically with Smash Ultimate, I like seeing how many franchises that are getting added in. Because it literally, at this point, we're getting to the point with Smash Ultimate that it isn't really a Nintendo game. It is a celebration of gaming in one game. And anytime there's new stuff now, so it's like Dragon Quest, yes. Persona, yes. Banjo-Kazooie, yes. Just get every single hard-hitting franchise in some fashion, and I'm going to be excited about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even Sakurai himself said that. Like, he literally said in an interview a few months back, like, it's not even really a Nintendo thing anymore. It's just, like, a big celebration. That doesn't mean Smash is going to come to Xbox. Like, no, they want that fucking money.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you want to put the character in, we'll do it.
And they do such a good job. It's like every single character has, like, every single DLC that they've announced so far has done such a good job of distilling the soul of those franchises in what they reveal.
And it's so funny, like, especially with characters like, I want to mention Ken specifically from Street Fighter because I know Street Fighter fans have hated how he looked for years, and it feels like Capcom can never get it right in terms of how he looks in a 3D environment. Like, something about his face is very distinct and looks strange, and then Nintendo comes out with his Smash iteration and they nailed it the first try. It's like, yes, that is exactly what he was supposed to look like. I don't know what you're doing with, like, banana-haired Ken over here in Street Fighter 5. But Nintendo always just nails everything. It's pretty amazing that oftentimes they show more respect and reverence to the characters than sometimes their own rights holders do, especially Konami. You know, the Castlevania guys, they had a lot of work put into, especially, like, even down to little things like having, like, the Castlevania, like, pimp walk, you know, whenever they run and everything, and even the fact that you can hold the whip out and just, like, twirl it around like you could in the old games. So
many good little touches with everything.
Yeah, so, and a lot of it they don't even show in the trailers, you know, like for the Dragon Quest and Banjo stuff, we're going to have to wait until we really get our hands on it to see all the little Easter eggs and stuff we can find. And last thing we want to say about Smash is that we still have 2 characters, hopefully even more. I want another combat pack or whatever. But considering they dropped something like Banjo and Dragon Quest, which, once again, remember, Dragon Quest for Japan was probably like the biggest fucking announcement. I don't think there's anything that could top that for Japanese players. And for the West, you know, I don't know what could top Banjo, because I know they've been wanting that for years and years and years. And it finally got worked out, and we still have 2 more characters left to see, so I cannot wait to see what those characters are. If it were up to me, it would be Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, because that would complete, like, all the classic NES characters, and it would give Ninja Gaiden more exposure. That's the other great thing about Smash. All the people that said, oh, I don't know anything about Dragon Quest, this is a wasted spot, I bet you a lot of those people will end up buying a Dragon Quest game, just like when Marth and Roy came out in Melee, nobody knew who the fuck they were, and then people bought Fire Emblem, and slowly, Awakening comes out, boom, it's one of their premier franchises in the West now. Bayonetta is another one. Now that's a Nintendo exclusive. She gets put in Smash a lot of people try it out, and that's their first introduction to those hardcore Japanese action games. And now they want to play DMC or God of War or Ninja Gaiden, whatever.
Mhm.
So I bet the same thing will happen with Dragon Quest, and it'll find a whole new fan base too. So that's always a good thing. And hopefully, same with Banjo-Kazooie, even though it's a little bit harder for Nintendo fans to play those nowadays.
Yeah.
But maybe they'll get an Xbox. I don't know. Maybe that's why Philly Spencer did it. So yeah, we'll see. Oh, the other one would be Travis Touchdown. That would be great to see him in there as well. But I'm excited for pretty much whatever Sakurai has up his sleeve. So
Basically, just going off of what you said on what could top Banjo, I don't have anything specific. The only thing that I could imagine that would top Banjo is something I'm not expecting, and
Yep.
like something like Persona. Like I don't think anybody was expecting that when they announced it. So again, like I haven't played Persona. I do own Persona 5 and intend on playing it soon, but it has to be something just like that nobody's talking about, but makes complete sense to be in the game.
yeah.
Anyway, my last thing on my list, I'll just hop into my number one. This is going to be completely obvious, but it is
You know who they should put in Smash?
who?
Arthur Morgan. That makes sense to me.
What would the final Smash be? Deadeye, and just like blast someone.
Him taking a bath, and the Smash character you're doing it against has to scrub him. And then Arthur shoots him and robs them.
I mean, I would get it for the music alone. They'd probably pick good tracks.
That
And
would be so funny if they fucking put a Rockstar character in there for no reason.
the stage would be like Strawberry or something. You just like fight like down a
Yeah.
muddy hill.
No, I mean, like Nick and I were also talking about this earlier. Like, how fucking cool would it be if like Sakurai announces like the 5th DLC character, and he's like, "Oh wait, I forgot. There's also gonna be like these 5 other characters that are coming as DLC." And he just drops a fucking bomb of all these like random characters, like
Yeah.
Arthur and John. Like John's the Echo Fighter, and then we have like fucking Kratos from God of War or some shit.
Yeah, that would be so
that'd be
crazy.
nuts, but I would not expect that. It's already a little too crazy. So, anyway, yeah.
But
I'm
yeah.
super excited for Smash. I can't wait to get a switchy bitchy and play it. I've been playing some Smash tonight at Nick's. I'm liking the Inklings. They're pretty fun. So, and I like Manendorf, of course. Especially when I drop kick Nick and he gets pissed. So,
Yeah, Shane's
I-
better at Smash than I am, but I enjoy it still.
yeah.
My number one anyway is
Yeah, go.
not a surprise. The Outer Worlds
Right.
by Obsidian,
Right.
coming out in October. Big Fallout fan. Of all the impressions that I've seen of people that got to either have hands-on or hands-off demos, it is 100% Fallout New Vegas, but not Fallout. So
Mhm.
it's all what you want. It's the skill checks, it's the dialogue, it's the multiple ways, multiple factions, different choices you can make, first person, space, corporations taking over, great style, made by Tim Kaine and Leonard Boyarsky, the people that created Fallout. So it's a new world
Yeah.
and universe.
Yeah. Fuck you, Todd.
No, don't fuck you, Todd. I actually enjoy Todd Howard's games, but
I'm gonna show him who the real Fallout is, or what the real Fallout is.
I am just excited. The trailer that they showed at Microsoft, it didn't. I mean, it was just more of what I wanted to see, and I'm pretty much kind of on blackout. I know that I think footage of the gameplay demo that they showed off is floating around, but I'm kind of just not watching it just because I'm good. I know I'm going to buy it.
Yeah.
I know I'm probably going to like it. Probably going to be a little buggy. I hear a lot of people saying that, and like you can kind of see it.
Yeah,
Like,
I noticed that in like the recent trailer. It's like, this looks like there's gonna be some bugs in this.
there's a little
But-
bit of jank with it,
But,
but
I think it's gonna be really good.
it's exactly what I want, and I think it's exactly what a lot of people that were a little, well, people that were burned by Fallout 76, obviously, but even Fallout 4, they changed a lot of stuff that people weren't as happy with. Got rid of the traditional dialogue system for fully voiced character and everything like that. But I think they're definitely striking a certain chord that people have been sort of missing since New Vegas, Skyrim, that sort of time.
Yeah.
So it's definitely probably one of my most anticipated games of the year, and that's not changing after E3. So
Yeah. Outer Worlds is a game I've had my eye on for a while too, especially after I played Fallout New Vegas and enjoyed that game quite a bit. I'm not quite as into the Fallout franchise or like the Bethesda gameplay as Nick is, but if the game turns out to be good, I will definitely want to play it. Because like I said, New Vegas was a lot of fun, and I'm actually all in for a smaller version of like a New Vegas experience. Because sometimes I think there was a little too much like padding in the world. There was a lot of like caves, for instance, that were just kind of clones, so it wasn't quite as exciting like discovering a new location if it's just like the same as the other cave or vault I was in before. So I think, and I do think they have a nice art style going, because like Fallout New Vegas was just like complete orange, and then
Yep.
Fallout 3 was like complete gray and like kind of greenish. So it's nice that this game has like some nice color, and it's a bit nicer to look at. So I'm excited for it too, and I hope it ends up really, really good. And hey, if it doesn't, maybe Microsoft will give them a shitload of money for the second one, and then
and it'll be
polish the shit out of
exclusive,
it.
and they'll have an exclusive that'll actually drive people to Xbox.
Yeah, so good for Microsoft. Okay, so my last one is Ghostwire Tokyo.
Nice.
Well, first of all, I've pretty much enjoyed everything Tango has put out, even Evil Within 2, even though it's kind of a bad game. But
Cut back to podcast, whatever. We talked about the Evil Within.
yeah, and everybody needs to start to realize that the first one was a much better game. Okay, it's not really, you can't have an opinion on it, you just need to realize that the first one was a lot better. But I've enjoyed everything they put out. If Shinji Mikami is involved, it's something I'm interested in. As far as I'm concerned, he's created the greatest video game of all time with Resident Evil 4. I've never played a better game than that game. So I will follow him to the ends of the earth. There's still so many Shinji Meister games I haven't even played. I haven't played God Hand, which is supposed to be one of the best action games ever. I haven't played God Hand. I haven't played Vanquish, which is supposed to be one of the best action games ever. Again. The Resident Evil remake, fantastic. The original Resident Evil, fantastic. Everything he's like pretty much ever done has been fucking awesome. And I love Shinji Mikami. I love his company. I love Evil Within 1. Evil Within 2 was something. So Ghostwire Tokyo, even though it's just a pre-rendered trailer, I think the art style is really, really awesome. Tango is amazing at cinematic trailers. Even Evil Within 2's cinematic trailer was really, really cool and interesting. The game's creative director, Akumi Nakamura, the internet like fell in love with her after like she was on stage for like 2 minutes. So she seems really, really cool, and it's always fun when you have a cool director to root for, like Yoko Taro or her or Suda, whatever. Is there any Western people you like to root for besides Todd?
Cory Barlog probably now. I haven't played a whole
Cory's a
lot
nice
of his
guy,
stuff, but he pops into a lot of conversations, and he seems like a really just down-to-earth, cool game dev. Tim Schafer, a lot of people throw Tim Schafer around a lot. Those are probably it. One thing I will say, just not really on the topic of Ghostwire, but Mikami, just in terms of his legacy, I mean, that's a name that's like in the same like tier as like Kojima and like all these like industry, like Miyamoto, all these industry icons. And it's exciting to see Nakamura, because I think she's really cool, and I hope this isn't the only time we see her. Like, I sort of hope, like, I think you were telling me, isn't she sort of like his understudy?
Yeah, she was during, I think before Evil Within 2 started production, there was like 2 people he wanted to he was grooming for like a director's chair role. One was John Johannes, who directed Evil Within 2, and I don't know if Nakamura was the other one. I know it was a Japanese woman, but no, you know what, I think it was her, because I heard about a woman who moved, or who started working for, I think, Platinum for a little while, and she did too. Nakamura did. I don't know if it was the same person, but the point is that I don't think like Shinji really wants to be the director anymore. He would just rather groom and prepare the new generation for directing games, which I think is great. And hey, shout out to John Johannes. I think he did a really great job on Evil Within 2. I mean, I was not the biggest fan of it, but I think for your first game, it was pretty damn good. It's not a bad game at all, okay? And not that you're probably ever going to listen to this, but you did a good job.
Who knows? Maybe he will.
Maybe he will. And I hope that makes you feel warm and fuzzy inside. I just had some issues with it. So, yeah. Nakamura is another, I think, first-time game director. She actually has a pretty impressive resume, though, because she worked on Okami as an art director, which is obviously a very beautiful game. She worked on Bayonetta, I think 1 and 2. I don't think she was the one that designed or created the character of Bayonetta. I think that was another woman, but she worked on Bayonetta. She worked on Evil Within 1 and 2, and created some of the first game's really iconic monsters, like the Keeper, which is admittedly kind of just a Pyramid Head ripoff, but he's cool in his own right, I suppose. And Laura, who's like a human spider chick, and she's pretty creepy. So yeah, it's just cool. She seems really fun and bubbly, which is funny because she's directing a horror game. But
I think that's the best part about it.
Yeah, that might make it even better. See, the frustrating thing is I'm super excited for this game, but it's like we only have a pre-rendered trailer. We don't really know what the game is about. We don't exactly know the gameplay. We just know that it had a really cool trailer, and the director seems really, really likable. And if Shinji's there, and she is Japanese, which I feared that part of the reason why Evil Within 2 turned out like it did was because it had an American director who maybe hired the American guy who wrote the bad story in Evil Within 2. Maybe that was what it was. So I'm kind of happy she is Japanese. Not that a Western person couldn't do a great Japanese horror game, but I feel like I'm more comfortable in this one.
There's something lost.
I'm not worried. Yeah, I'm not as worried about it because it's like whenever Silent Hill tried to be done by less talented Western devs. Yeah, not just Western devs. Sorry, less talented. That was a shit show, and it was very bad, and we're all gonna forget about that. I don't care for your Stockholm Syndrome about any game after 4. They were all shit. Some maybe had some cool ideas. I don't give a fuck. Silent Hill 1 through 3 were amazing. 4 was kind of bad, but had interesting ideas. That's all I'm saying about Silent Hill, or else I'm going to get really pissed off. But, yeah.
Yeah,
Nakamura is great. Tango is a great company. Shinji Mikami's there. It'll probably be fucking cool, and I can't wait to see more of it. Like I said, that's what sucks about pre-rendered trailers, because it's like, there's not much to talk about. I have more to say about Nakamura as a person than I do about the trailer.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's going to be really cool.
Ghostwire was one of my honorable mentions. Same reasons. I mean, not a whole lot to go off of, but the style is undeniable. It's Deathloop and Ghostwire that were the two show stealers for Bethesda, and I think it's because partly due that they're new. It's not Elder Scrolls, Fallout. I mean, I love Fallout, but it's not. It's just something new, and it's really refreshing to see these teams bringing out new projects.
Yeah, and I like that it takes place in modern Japan, because there's not a ton of games besides Yakuza that really do that, so that's pretty cool, and has a horror twist on it, which seems really fun. And also, I'm just excited for really any horror game, because those are very risky games to make often, unless you're making like the Screamer games for streamers or whatever.
I wonder how much horror it's actually going to play into, because I mean, we sort of get a sense of it in the trailer.
Spooky. And she said so.
She said that, but she also described it as an action-adventure game.
Yeah, but so was the Evil Within 1 and 2.
They
especially
consider
the second.
I know the second one.
I would
was
say, yeah,
definitely
maybe
one.
not the first one is more like a straight-up survival horror game, but the second one was definitely action-adventure.
And I know you say like Resident Evil 4 is more action-adventure too.
Yeah, definitely.
Not horror.
It
So like
had a horror twang to it.
Yeah, it's not going to be a bad game. I'm just wondering like how scary spooky is.
Well, the only thing that ever scared me was Silent Hill 1 through 3, so I probably won't be scared by it.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
but yeah, we'll see. Maybe it's more of just like maybe it is just spooky, not like this is super scary. More like it just has a bleak tone to it. I don't know, but it does seem really cool.
And
The
I like
art
I like
direction's on
the
point.
the pitch that they have of people disappearing. I think
Yeah.
that's unique. And like theoretically could be very interesting for like graphical fidelity, so that might be a little weird at first, but it's like imagine how nice Tokyo might be able to look if they don't have to render any people in the
Yeah.
city. Like, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, if they don't have to do a whole bunch of people, that might free up some processing power for other things.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting. I wonder if they're gonna. It probably will be kind of open world, like Evil Within 2 was, I'd assume. I don't know. Maybe it'll be linear levels, but I feel like open world would make sense.
Mhm.
Maybe it'll be sort of like Yakuza, where it's more like open. I don't know what to call it. City district or something, where it's just like a small slice of Tokyo.
Like open hub areas.
Yeah, but it takes a few minutes to walk across the map to the other side, but not like Grand Theft Auto.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm excited to see more. I wish they showed a bit of gameplay, but is what it is. I'm still very excited for that game. So, what are we gonna talk about now? Do we want to talk about honorable mentions?
So, real quick, I think we should just talk very briefly about our overall thoughts on the show and then go into honorable mentions, just because we've sort of been touching on it throughout our discussions. It was a lot of CG trailers, and that just maybe you're a different type of person listening to this, but for us, I know it's hard to get excited when you're basically being shown a concept. You're not being shown much to go
Yeah.
off of, and that was almost all the press conferences. Not Devolver, but Devolver's not really that type of a company. They show things that's like coming out within a year.
Yeah, well,
So-
I was gonna say them, and Nintendo was pretty good about
Yeah,
it. too.
Nintendo was good
So
about it
that's
also.
why I think if I had to choose one person that won E3, it'd be Nintendo, just because
By a
they
landslide.
They had, you could see the games.
And
Um,
even if they were stuff that was mainly like CG or whatever, like at least even in the terms of No More Heroes 3, they showed like what gameplay is gonna look like. Like
Yeah.
it might not look exactly like it, but like you could see stuff in it that's like, okay, yeah, it's gonna play like that.
Yeah,
So
and I mean, I think Microsoft could have won it if they actually had gameplay for like half the things they had. Like,
Yeah.
hey, I would have loved to have seen Halo Infinite gameplay.
they
but-
needed like 3 demos to win it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty disappointing.
a
unfortunately.
whole lot of CG trailers. We have to mention it. The crowd at Bethesda.
Was really annoying.
Holy shit, that was annoying. I understand. Like, I hope it's not as insidious as some people say, where they're like planting people out there. I like to believe it's just like some really rowdy Bethesda fans, but tone it down. Not every single word that needs said. And also on Bethesda's part, don't add so many breaks for applause in what you're saying. Just come out and start talking about what you want to talk about.
Yeah, their press conferences always go on too long.
Yeah. Ubisoft, I watched it. It was okay. Definitely the biggest thing was Watch Dogs Legion for me, and that they had a game demo. And so it stands out. Same with Final Fantasy VII. Like they showed gameplay, and that's why it stands out. So many of my picks and your picks are things that they had gameplay for, and
Yeah.
it's like that's the biggest thing that always matters. Square Enix, I watched it not live, but I watched it after the fact, and I watched all of it. Final Fantasy and Avengers were the two big kind of things. The rest were all like sort of ports, and like there were some surprises, like Final Fantasy VIII getting a remaster
Yeah,
and everything.
And,
But
yeah, there's like Kingdom Hearts DLC that no one knows what the fuck it is.
a lot of it was just kind of like it felt like softballs after like 2 big heavy hitters.
Yeah.
And Avengers is lukewarm. Let's not
Yeah,
get too
I
excited
don't-
about that.
I don't think it's gonna be that great. But
They definitely should have advertised Final Fantasy over Avengers as the big draw for
Yeah.
that show.
oh, but hey, voice actors that are in every fucking game ever are in this one, so you should buy it.
Yeah.
Except for T. Willingham, because he is a little weird.
Anyway,
Hey, what are you doing over there?
They should hire you.
Yeah, I could do it.
Anyway, but like, I don't know if you have any closing thoughts on the show as a whole before we go into honorable mentions. It was a softball year, and I think that's to be expected with the new consoles on the horizon.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like a C plus B minus year.
Yeah, I would probably say. I could probably say B minus because there was at least like some really really cool stuff at Nintendo's.
Yeah, perhaps C plus is a little harsh on my end.
Well, it's not that different. B minus, C plus, whatever. I could see C plus as well. It could have been probably a B plus. Like I said, if there was more gameplay here, I think we would have been a lot more positive about it. But a lot of it was, and there was no Sony either, which made it worse.
Yeah.
Although Sony probably would have just shown Last of Us and had, I don't know, Neil Druckmann play a harp for 40 minutes or something. Because they have to be artsy now.
He should play the flute.
Yeah, they have to be super avant-garde when they show game. Like, this is supposed to be like a press conference, okay? I don't need to see someone play a fucking flute. Like, okay, no offense. But, like,
I want to pull that out.
Sometimes it's like, if you watch the old E3 press conferences back in the day, like, it literally was a press conference where, like, you know, the Shinja Meister came out and he's like, "Hi, I'm going to tell you about a game called Devil May Cry." And he stood at the podium for about 5 minutes, and then they had a 10-minute gameplay demo and a trailer. And the Silent Hill guys came out, and they talked about Silent Hill 2 and what they wanted to achieve with that game. And they showed it, you know. We didn't have to have little performances. We did have to have bad translators that translated James Sunderland to James Thunderland in front of a live audience, which was pretty embarrassing. But
I will say I like the style of press conferences we get now, but again, like I don't like the theatric, some of the theatric stuff.
Sony doesn't need to be so twiddly twat about it.
Ubisoft doesn't need to have a Just Dance rave every year.
Microsoft doesn't need to have a fucking car every year for no reason.
Although I did like it this year that it was the Lego car.
At least it was something a little different.
Tongue in cheek.
I do think, I mean, I heard Matt Walker, who is the Devil May Cry producer, works at Capcom. He said that he thought Nintendo was really ahead of their time in the sense that they basically just show the games, and then the next 3 days are just showing gameplay of the games at Treehouse, and that is the best thing. You know what else sucked about E3 this year? Capcom wasn't there dropping bombs. So
just think of how much better it's going to be in the future, though.
Yes.
You can't always have a constant bombshell.
Yes, they need to hire like 4,000 more people and then constantly drop bombshells every few months. But yeah, Capcom was at E3, but they were just showing off Monster Hunter World Iceborne. So I don't know if they're going to show anything this year, but next year, hopefully, Capcom comes out swinging again. Yeah, so overall, it was fine. I had fun with it. I don't think it was as good as the last two E3s, though.
Yeah.
But there was definitely lots of cool stuff. So I have a little list here of short things I just wanted to touch upon that I was excited to hear about or see. SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. This is a game I played a lot in my childhood, have strong nostalgia towards, and it is a really, really fun platformer. If you guys have never played it and you like SpongeBob and you like platformers, I think you're going to really enjoy it.
That's me.
Exactly. I haven't played in a while, so maybe some things aren't quite as good as I remembered, but I don't think this game would be getting a remaster with a bunch of hype behind it if there wasn't something good there, and there definitely is.
It's a licensed game that I'm very excited for.
Yeah, it is a very good licensed game. A lot of good memories with this one, so I'm excited for that game to come out. We haven't seen much of the art style besides a few renders. It looks a little weird, but once I see it in motion, I'll probably be happy with it. And I think they're doing a really nice job with the Destroy All Humans remaster. So, yeah, as long as they stay true to the original art style and the gameplay, I think we're fine.
Very excited for it. Never played it, but
yeah. So we're both excited for
I
that.
believe it's a $30 game too. So not a full
not
price. Yeah, good price to jump in if you've never played it.
Yeah. Next is Control. They did not show.
Hype.
Yeah, they didn't show much at E3. They just showed like a 40-second teaser, which was whatever. But I'm super excited for this game. Nick is super excited for this game. I love me some Remedy, Sam Lake, creative director. is what it is. Nothing you could do about it.
Talk about unique visual style. This game is like unique visual style of the game.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's minimalism done correctly for sure. It's a very, very pretty minimalistic style.
Kubrick and Lynch on record as influences.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and the gameplay is sort of like a Metroidvania with a kind of quantum break time powers, shooting. You can even like kind of levitate through the air and stuff, and it sounds really, really fucking cool.
really cool distortion effects. Like there's
Yeah.
like this weird like rainbow shimmer that happens on certain items. The animations of like the psychic stuff moving just looks really great. I'm really excited for this.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. It might be a sleeper hit where it first comes out, doesn't sell that well, and then it gains like a cult following, and then it starts to sell like really well next year once people hear about it and catch up and become fans. So I'm super excited about that too. Next is Star Wars Jedi Order, Fallen Order, whatever it's called.
Yep.
I wouldn't say this game looks like anything amazing or revolutionary, but I think like if you pick it up in the future for like $20, you might have some fun with it. And I'm not saying like it looks bad or cheap or anything. It's just not a game I would buy for $60. But the gameplay is kind of like a mix between. I saw some Prince of Persia in there with the wall running. I saw Force Unleashed or Force Awakened gameplay with the Force powers. And I saw, some Souls with kind of the slow-paced combat, the little dot, Z targeting and everything. So it looks pretty fun. And it's a single-player game from EA, so good job.
You summed it up really well. It doesn't really look like it's doing a whole lot new, but it doesn't look like it's doing anything bad, which...
Yeah, it looks like another one of those kind of sort of cinematic God of War 4 experiences, but I think it'll be fun.
Disney, I know you listen to our podcast. You need to loosen up on Star Wars. I just have a little tiny rant. You are way too protective. You need to let people start to do some more creative things with it. I'm tired of being in between the episode 3 and episode 4 time frame. Let people go out of it. Let people choose new characters. Don't shove characters that we know in every single thing you do. Just please loosen up a little.
Yeah, and also it would have been nice if this game had lightsaber dismemberment. I know that's something I noticed and a lot of people were kind of cranky about because it just seems a little cheesy that you have these super powerful lightsaber weapons and it doesn't feel like it's super powerful when you see them just like not cutting up stormtroopers or whatever. But Disney's weird about it and they're like, oh yeah, too bloody, we need to save that for like the super dramatic kills or whatever. It's like, fuck off, awesome mouse.
Also,
Get out of here, bitch ass. I want George back.
I don't know if that would be so much better.
Is it-
But the one other thing I wanted to say about it was oh yeah, it was another thing with them being too stringy with stuff. I would have really liked to have seen a new planet for this gameplay demo. The fact that it's like planets and stuff that we've already seen before, like, come on.
Yeah.
Just show me a picture of Darth Vader if you're gonna show me all that stuff now. Like, I'm getting tired of it. I want new stuff.
Yeah. Also, this is kind of like a little off topic, but I remember seeing a video online where like there's like a Star Wars thing at Disney where little kids can come up and there's like a Jedi Knight that like kind of trains them, and Darth Vader is on the other side of the stage, and he kind of like gives him instructions on how to beat Darth Vader, and the kid gets to duel Vader and whatever, take a picture. And I saw this video of this kid who does it, and whenever the guy like tells him to attack Darth Vader, the kid walks up to him and puts his lightsaber away and bows, and like asks him to train him in the art of the Sith. And the Jedi doesn't know what to do, and he gets kind of pissed because he's like, "No, this isn't the Sith training academy. You need to go back to the line if you want to be a Sith." And he was actually being like a huge dick to the kid. But it's just like stuff like that where it's like, oh, you're not allowed to be a Sith. No, you have to be the hero or whatever. It's like, that's corny. Who wouldn't want to be a Sith? I want to be on the side with Darth fucking Vader. I don't want you fucking nerds with your ponytails.
And also, again, with the Battlefront 2 thing,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I know people harp on it a lot, but you had potential there and you squandered it with your protectiveness. So,
Yeah.
loosen up. You're going to start alienating the people that you're trying to sell things to.
So,
Anyway, enough about Star Wars.
Stop making dumb decisions, please. Next, Keanu in Cyberpunk was probably one of the single most hyped things that happened, but it wasn't really a game thing, so I did not include it in my top 5. But whenever that happened, that was really amazing.
Yep.
Completely unexpected. It was like the perfect celebrity guest. That was probably the only time I've ever been super excited for a celebrity being in a game. And it made me more interested in Cyberpunk than I ever was before. And apparently he's going to be like your partner for most of the game, which is awesome.
I don't know if I don't know to what extent this was the case, but apparently Microsoft went through like very like they were like very careful to keep that a secret. So I don't know, like clearly if he is like a big role in that, like it must have been pretty hard to keep that a secret until then.
Yeah, definitely. So good job Microsoft for doing that because it was worth it. It was a big announcement. Super fun.
Also, this is an underrated bit about that announcement, but I just love the Microsoft announcer saying, "Please welcome Keanu Reeves." Like the read on that was great.
Yeah. Next is Psychonauts 2, which I almost put in my top 5. Only reason I didn't is because I haven't played the first one. I think that would have helped push it right into my top 5 because I think the art direction looks fucking great in this game.
Chef kiss.
Yes. Good job, Tim Schafer. I like your last name because it reminds me of shaving cream.
Psychonauts 2 looks awesome.
But yes, it looks awesome. Looks like it's gonna make fans of the original happy. It looks like a direct sequel to the original, just with like HD visuals and better graphics and everything. Same humor, same awesome art style, and really creative visuals and level design. It looks really dope.
I pre-ordered the PS4 physical version from Limited Run, and I'm definitely picking up Psychonauts 2 as soon as I can, because I'm going to be very excited to play through that.
Yeah, and I think I own like 3 copies of it, so I really have no excuse not to play it besides all the other games I have.
Mm-hmm.
So I will eventually get to Psychonauts. Hopefully sometime this year I can do a playthrough. But yeah, that game looks awesome. Speaking of things that should have been kept a secret, if Elden Ring was kept a secret and it got announced as George R.R. Martin and From, that would have been fucking incredible if that was kept a secret. Unfortunately, it wasn't. Everybody knew it was going to happen, so it wasn't quite as cool.
They need to figure out who keeps leaking from software stuff. This is like, I don't know when the last time they've had a project that hasn't been leaked.
Yeah, but nevertheless, it's still pretty cool. It seems like it's going to be yet another dark fantasy RPG from, which is always a good thing. They don't make bad dark fantasy RPGs. I'm a fan of all their games. I even recently became a fan of Dark Souls 2, even though it's not a great game. I do like it. I haven't played much of Sekiro. I played like 4 hours when a friend brought it over. That was good. Dark Fantasy, I understand you can work with George R.R. Martin. That's a big deal for From Software. Got to take him up on that. Just personally, I would like to see them do something different for a little while after this. I keep saying like, hey, after Sekiro, maybe they should do something different. Then this comes out, it's like, okay, well maybe after this they should do something different. And it's like,
yeah,
come on, man. I know you have more in you than just the same. What the fuck? Oops, we're good. The same dark fantasy games, They've been making it for about a decade straight, starting with Demon Souls in 2009. Just dark fantasy RPGs.
And in good spots in the past, like Kingsfield and stuff like that. So.
And they're definitely good at it. But we keep hearing there's an Armored Core game. I'd like to see that. I'm a little confused because I thought Miyazaki said that there was going to be a Strange game, dark fantasy RPG, and then Armored Core. But I thought he said this Strange game wasn't Deracine. So I don't think Elden Ring was the Strange game. I don't know. It looks cool, like as usual. The art direction in the CG trailer looks great. I'm sure it's going to be another win for From.
And I mean, you gotta praise the team. They have a crazy work ethic that they've been able to release these amazing games every year. It's like
Yeah.
I don't even know how many projects they must be working on ahead of time in order to do this. But it's
Yeah.
like each of them, even though they are dark fantasy RPGs, each of them seems so different, with the
Yeah,
exception of
definitely.
Dark
Yeah,
Souls.
it's not like they do a shit job. Like, I'm excited for this game because I know they're gonna have an awesome art direction filled with like all these cool like vistas and everything that we
Mhm.
haven't seen before, and I'm super excited for it, of course. And kudos to Miyazaki as well because he often directs like 2 games at one time because I
Yeah.
think he directed like Deracine and Sekiro at the exact same time, which is
Mhm.
pretty incredible. That guy's a beast. So, yeah, super excited.
Other quick fun fact that I learned the other day: this apparently started production after Dark Souls 3, so
So,
that's
yes.
about how long they've been working on it.
Yeah. Hopefully that means it comes out pretty soon then, maybe in 2020.
Yeah.
So next is Halo Infinite, also known as Halo 6. So far, I'm feeling good vibes with this game.
Mhm.
I've heard a lot of people say Halo 4 had a really good story mode, but the online was lacking, whereas Halo 5 had a really shitty story mode, but the online was actually really good. So hopefully they can just pull it together for Halo 6 and make a really, really amazing game that everybody likes. It seems like the pieces are in place for the story so far. They're going to focus on Chief again. Which, yeah, that's what everyone wants. We just want to play as Chief and see his story. Don't know a ton about the story. I didn't play or watch the story of Halo 5, so I'm not entirely sure where we're at right now. But
I watched it a long time ago, and I couldn't tell you a single thing about it. I don't think it's very consequential at all.
yeah, and I think I've heard some people say this might almost be like, it's not like an alternate universe, but it might be like sort of a soft reboot or something.
I think they're... I get...
Even the fact that he's wearing the Mark, I think the Mark 6 armor, not like the new
Mhm.
variant from Halo 4, which is interesting.
I think...
Which is good because they overdid the armor.
Yeah.
Okay, I like the classic Halo 1 through 3 armor that was much more simplistic and much more elegant. With Reach, it looked fucking ugly. Okay, thank you for fixing that.
I get the vibe from this trailer that they're not rebooting what they've done, but they're sort of like
But they're just
leaving
saying-
that
yeah, they're saying,
thread behind.
let's forget that happened. And
Yeah.
Let's have a better story with Chief.
Because it seems like they're sort of still carrying over the Cortana thing that
Yeah.
was going on throughout those, but definitely the vibe feels more Halo 1 through 3 than any of the other games have.
Yeah.
So, good stuff. And
yeah, and it might be like almost open world Halo for the first time,
Mhm.
which seemed to be what the original teaser implied, which would be really, really cool.
And I think if that shot that we saw, where like the HUD turns on and you get the whoop, if that is actual gameplay and not just a pre-rendered thing, killer animation. Like they're doing a really good job with that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm super excited for Halo Infinite. I'm very disappointed we didn't see a gameplay demo.
Yeah, that
especially-
was what they needed to end on.
Yeah, because they showed like live, like in-engine footage last year for the engine. I thought this was the gameplay here, but I guess not. But yeah, looking forward to that. Next is My Friend Pedro, which is coming out.
Is out.
Is out. I can't play this because I don't have my PC's not going to be powerful enough. I don't have a Switch yet. I'd rather play it on PC because it seems like the mouse controls would work a lot better for this game. But if I get a Switch, I will get it on there. This game reminds me of Max Payne because of the bullet time, and I like the little style they got going on. Anything that reminds me of MP, Pain to the Max, I am down with. So I'm super excited for this. Nick is super excited for this. It looks super, super fun.
Want to get it soon. So.
Yeah. So that's definitely probably one of the first Switch games I'm gonna get whenever I eventually get the Switch. So we have a little bit left to talk about, so we're gonna start to go a little bit faster.
Yep, rapid fire.
Next, I think I'm the only one here who cares about this, but I listed Shenmue 3. We finally saw a little bit of gameplay, some of the cutscenes and the English voices, and I was pretty astounded to see that it is like literally, it feels like this game could have been released right after Shenmue 2. The only difference is that it has better modern graphics.
I like the correction there. Better modern graphics.
Yeah, and obviously it's more of like it's sort of an indie game, I guess. I guess not indie game, but it doesn't have like the best graphics of this generation or anything, but it's fine. I think they did a pretty good job mimicking the original style, but otherwise, like it's weird. Like almost the animations look like they came right out of the Dreamcast era. The voices are just as bad as they always were. Even Ryo is still just like, "Hey, what are you doing there? Stop it!" And guess I wouldn't have it any other way, and Shenmue fans wouldn't either. I think this is exactly what they want. If the gameplay I saw looked exactly like a continuation of Shenmue 2 from however many, like 20 years ago. So,
which I guess is a compliment.
Well, like I
it
said,
shows consistency even after like a decade.
I mean, it's good for the hardcore Shenmue fans because a lot of those guys, that's literally all they wanted. Some people wanted it to be in the Dreamcast art, like graphics. They didn't even want that to change. So I think Shenmue fans are going to absolutely adore it. Shout out to Yu Suzuki for never giving up on Shenmue and finally bringing Shenmue 3 out in 2019, and I will be playing it because I backed it and they already locked in my order for the PS4 version, and I can't get a refund even if I was on PC for the Epic Game Store thing. So I'm going to be playing Shenmue 3 day one, whenever August. Did they delay it?
It got delayed. November.
Yeah, whenever the game comes out, I will be playing it. So I'll let everyone know how it is. Hopefully
November 2024.
Yeah, and see, I'm a Shenmue fan, but it's like whenever I first played Shenmue 1 and 2, or before I played them, I was super, super interested in them because I thought they were really amazing. I had really never seen anything like them, and they made me really want to get a Dreamcast and play them. So I eventually did get a Dreamcast, and I got Shenmue 1 and 2. This was before the HD collection and everything, and I played them, and I really, really liked them. They pretty much lived up to my expectations, and I actually replayed Shenmue 1 one time and got most of the way through Shenmue 2 before I stopped because I got kind of bored. But I think after that, I got into Yakuza, and then my opinion started to change a bit because to me, Yakuza felt like a really good version of what Shenmue was doing, even though I know Shenmue fans don't like to compare the two because they are a little different. Shenmue is like a slow-paced adventure thing where you go around and talk to people, where Yakuza is more of an action RPG. But I still think there's plenty of similarities. You know, they're two of the only games to do like really realistic Asian settings. Shenmue 1 had, you know, Yokosuka in Japan, and Shenmue 2 had China, and Yakuza only takes place in Japan. You know, there's Sega arcade games that you can go into the arcade and play little mini games like darts and billiards and bowling, whatever. You know, they are very similar in a lot of different ways, but I think after getting into Yakuza so heavily and actually really liking the story of Yakuza, where Shenmue's story is nothing special, it's very, very generic. My father was killed by an evil martial artist. I am a young martial artist. I will train and go find him and beat him. You know, if you like Bruce Lee movies or whatever, you'll feel right at home. It's nothing spectacular. The writing is very not good. The voice acting it makes it impossible to take the series serious anyway. I mean, I did play the second one in Japanese, which helps a little bit. Yeah, I do like Shenmue. I am a fan of it. I'm not a fanboy, and I would much rather be playing Yakuza any day of the damn week than play Shenmue. But I'm happy that Shenmue fans are happy, and I will be playing it and hopefully enjoying it. Like I said, I don't hate Shenmue, even though I shit on it a lot, because I did, replay the first one and second one. There's a lot to love about Shenmue, a lot to admire. I will forever admire the game for how ahead of its time it was and what it was trying to do. But I kind of just think Yakuza took what was good about Shenmue and just completely annihilated it. So, but anyway, Shenmue 3. It will not finish the story of Shenmue. So, I don't know what
Leave it at that.
I don't know what's going to happen after Shenmue 3. You know what? I keep saying I don't think Shenmue 4 is going to happen because the fans are going to love it, but the critics are going to hate it and give it a 6 out of 10. Nevertheless, I think Yu Suzuki might do a Kickstarter again for Shenmue 4, and he may very well make enough money
Another
from the
$2
fans
million.
to do it, because the Shenmue fans are fucking nuts. They will sell their kids to have more Shenmue. So, you know what? They probably will get a Shenmue 4. I don't know how many games he wants to do, and I do admire him for not backing down on his vision, because he could have cut the games down, but he doesn't want to. So, good for Yu Suzuki. He's still in the game doing his thing. So, we'll see about Shenmue 3. Just wanted to mention Genesis Noir real quick. Very cool art style. Don't really know what the gameplay is, but that game is definitely something to keep an eye out on. A lot of indie games kind of have, artsy-fartsy art styles, but this one is definitely unique, and I can't really think of another indie game that really reminds me of this one.
If you want a good comparison, Cuphead is to the 1930s cartoon, as Genesis Noir is to Saul Bass movie title screens. If you don't know, there's a lot of like Hitchcock movies that he did. The original Ocean's 11, if you know that. It's a lot of simple shapes, but form very distinctive and interesting images. So like a lot of the character models in this, they have like triangles for heads, more or less. So it's a very unique style, and it looks very cool. It takes place during the Big Bang or something like that, and it looks like a detective game of some sort.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it looks really cool. I want to see more about that for sure. Next one is Dragon Quest XI S for the Switchy, and Dragon Quest Builders 2. I just wanted to list these because Dragon Quest XI S really makes me want to get a Switch, among with all the other amazing Switch games, and the portability of the console is becoming more attractive to me the more I think about it, even though I'm not one to go out and play in the park with my hipsters, my hipster friends.
my hipsters.
But I am one to get off of work and take a shower and be tired and not want to walk out to the couch from my bed to play my games on my PS4, so it would be nice to have a Switch to just pop off and then just sit my ass on my bed and play some Smash or whatever. So, this is one of those games that I really want to get the Switch for, because I don't know if the extra content and stuff is coming to PS4. I don't feel like waiting, and I want to play the game. So I want to get it in September, hopefully, when it comes out, and I will hopefully have a Switch by then. And Builders 2, I'm just more excited. Just excited for more Dragon Quest. That's all I fucking want right now. You know, I want to play Dragon Quest Heroes 2. I want to play Dragon Quest Builders 1, because it's a great game, from what I've heard, and it sold really well. Builders 2, guys, support Dragon Quest. And Smash as well. It's going to come out, and Dragon Quest is going to overtake Final Fantasy as the most popular thing in the West. Probably not. It should, because Final Fantasy kind of blows donkey dicks. Anyway, yeah, Dragon Quest is great. Link's Awakening. I'm very excited for this one, because Link's Awakening is a really, really great 2D Zelda game.
One that I missed out on, and the style at first I wasn't a big fan of, completely 180'd on. I'm into it, so.
It's still pretty terrible looking, but I got used to it.
I like it.
It's okay, I guess. It wouldn't have been the style I would go with, but it's fine. It's interesting, I guess.
Yeah.
But the important thing is Link's Awakening is a really good game, and it doesn't look like that is going to change with this remake.
I am excited with how different it is. I've kind of been spoiled on like what the game is, so like I sort of know going into it, but I like it how different this one is. Like there's like sort of like in Breath of the Wild, but not, I guess, in a bad way. Is it gets rid of a lot of the things you come to expect from a Zelda game. Like, to my knowledge, Link's not looking for Zelda. There's just like a lot of stuff that they do differently, and that makes it very exciting for me, who never has experienced Link's Awakening and is excited to play it for the first time.
Yeah, it's a pretty weird game, in a good way for sure. So if you like Link to the Past, you're gonna like this one. Last one was just gonna be Phantasy Star coming to Xbox, or maybe only Xbox for now. But that's a big deal, even though I'm not a Phantasy Star fan. I've never really played Phantasy Star. I just know that Phantasy Star Online has been a game that people have wanted for years and years and years in the West, and people thought they would never get it, and they finally did. So, that gives me hope for other things like Dragon Quest X, or Dragon Quest X, which was the, of course, 10th entry in the series that they made an MMO RPG, but it was never released in the West, so maybe Square Enix will be convinced to bring that over. More Dragon Quest means happy me. So, awesome shout out to Phantasy Star fans that wanted that for years and they finally got it, and shout out to Sega for doing it. That's awesome. And talk to Square Enix and bring over Dragon Quest 11, please.
10.
And, yes, 10.
Sorry, it's late when we've been talking for a bit.
Yeah. But that was all the extra stuff I wrote down.
I think, let me check my list. I'm pretty sure everything I wrote down as an honorable mention was in there. Oh, I wrote down Watch Dogs Legion, but
We all know that game's not going to be as good
cool
as
city,
Ubisoft
cool
thought
concept,
that
but
was.
it's gonna be more Watch Dogs.
Yeah. Ubisoft's always like, we are as good as Rockstar, except not really, because our concepts are good, and then the game comes out, it's kind of crappy.
Anyway, that was everything else that I had. We already talked about. So
Yeah. And
still good things to talk about this year,
Yes.
despite it being a sort of meh year.
although, yes, Max Payne 4 did not get announced as I thought it was going to, and Ninja Gaiden 4 was not there either.
And no Team Silent reunion.
And the Team Silent did not have a reunion, and I was expecting Silent Hill 5 to come out. That's a little sad. I really believed that would happen. So,
Anyway, we're starting to drone on a bit, so I think we should probably wrap it up here.
yes.
Thanks for listening.
Let's
to
give
this.
a big shout out to Takayoshi Sato.
Anyway, thanks for listening. You can check out our other podcasts here on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Pixels Gradient. Watch some of our E3 reactions. Why not? There's some fun stuff in there, like the Gears Pop reaction. Go give that a watch.
Yes, and Bethesda taking too long. Daddy got impatient
And
had to go to work the next day. So you can watch that too.
Anyway, yeah, thanks again for listening, and we'll talk to you guys later.
We will see you guys, most likely not very soon, because I am from Finland, and I am not good with international time zones.